And you're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, as we bring you special cross-country coverage of the 2023 governorship and state assembly elections amid anxiety, tension, election cancellations in some polling units and reports of violence and disruption across the country. So how widespread are the problems? How deep is the rot? And does INEC's action of cancelling the results in just a few polling units go far enough? I'm Charles Eniegolu.
And I am Adesua Omoran. And over the next 2 hours, we'll be live with our correspondents across Nigeria, as well as analysts, commentators, election observers, and party representatives who will help us assess an election that's once again become entangled in controversy and allegations of manipulation, and inevitably Nigeria's political parties prepare to swoop down on the courts and the judiciary.
Hello there. The images are startling and are there for all to see on social and traditional media. In spite of the elaborate promises from both INEC and the security services, chaos has befallen yet another Nigerian ballot. Once again, we're seeing a disputed and controversial aftermath, with Nigerians holding their collective breath as results are announced in the governorship and state assembly elections. A ballot that's been characterized by tension, turmoil, deadly violence, confusion and disorder.
Very well said, Charles. Once again, Nigerians have not been able to mark their votes in numerous polling stations across the country. Voting could not take place in some areas because of bloody clashes between supporters of various parties and thugs, some of whom were shot by police. Polling stations in Lagos, Rivers, and several other parts of the country have been attacked. There's been violence and allegations of irregularities, and ballot boxes have been snatched and destroyed. But the process of collation and announcement of result carries on regardless.
In APC and PDP or any other party, the election is between the other parties and the police and INEC. In fact, what you're seeing is a situation where the police is arresting everybody. They've arrested Charles Wanyango, they've arrested Meka Ede, they've arrested the secretary of my party, of the party in my LGA, and 2 others, the secretary of the Elders Committee. They tried to arrest Simon Control. They tried to arrest some few persons in Tai and Gokana. And if you see the arrests all over the state, boiling to one thing, the police colluding with Nyesom Wike to deliver PDP. It's not an election. And they have no shame. To worsen matter, the INEC chairman is worse. Having worked under Wike as his executive secretary for Third Fund, he has just collapsed the River State. He said the reason for which he cancelled the election, stopped the election the last time in 2019 was violence. Now there's predominantly heavy violence, heavy shooting. Natives are not, non-indigenous are not allowed to vote. People are being flogged up and down. Why has he not stopped the election? It's just simply because he has an interest. And I don't know why for the past 2 elections, the chairman of INEC influences the appointment of PDP card-carrying members as returning officers and SPOs and POs. He influences the appointment of REC, Resident Electoral Commissioner, University. And so they just come here to do election, which is between the other parties and INEC.
This time now, they came out early. Like around 8 o'clock, they were already here. But last time, they came out around 11 o'clock. And people were already here waiting for them before they came. So they had a lot of crowds here last time because people were waiting already. But this time, they came before people started coming out. So because they were here before people started coming out, people come and vote and go back home.
It's very peaceful. With what has happened today, you will know completely that what happened in presidential was a complete ruse. Today is so organized. So I just wish it continues this way.
Used to be the heaviest voter center in this community. In the last election, people were so many here till up to 3 p.m. and beyond, still voting. But today we noticed that people are not happy. Many people didn't turn up. And understand the same thing with a lot of communities. When you inquire why they've not been coming out, they will tell you that they were disappointed with the result declared in the presidential election.
It has been good so far. It's free, it's fair, and they are following the rules, so it's good. Because I want my votes to count, and I want to choose my new governor, because I want a new change.
It has been quite calm. We've had a bit of a larger turnout than we had for the presidential, which I think can be understood because this is more of a grassroots election. So more people want to be a part of it. We've seen faces within seats 3 weeks ago, so we're happy about that.
I don't think it is as much as expected, you know. Here at a point we had to even tell the town crier to go tell the people that voting has commenced so that they could come out to vote. You know, the times are hard.
We have spoken to ourselves to be calm, not to fight. After winner is declared, we should embrace each other and continue to live life as normal.
It's very low, but people are still trooping out. They are still coming out. We are still expecting more people to come and vote and do their civic rights. So everything is perfect.
I'm voting at Ward 2, Unit 7, Southeast Local Government. I've been here around 7. In fact, I registered here some years back. I live in Sean. You have to take down this money so that I can perform my civic rights. And the assessment of the INEC and people around have been encouraging. No violence. They attended to the younger ones and the older ones, and everything is going on fine.
Because the turning up is very, very different. It will give you different of it because when during the presidential election, people doesn't turn up like this. You understand me? But this time around, I cannot give a genuine reason why this turn up is very crowded and the presidential election, in fact.
Well, a cross-section of people from across the country reacting to the different their perceptions of how the elections went where they are. Let's just quickly, we're going to go to Port Harcourt in a minute, but before we do, let's remind you of the results that have been fully declared so far. Seyi Makinde has been re-elected in Oyo State. He got 563,756 votes under his PDP party, and the rival APC got 256,685.
Well, another incumbent governor has won his bid to be re-elected in southwest Nigeria, and that's Dapo Abiodun of Ogun State. That was announced moments ago. You have 20 local government areas in that state, and the APC candidate, who is the incumbent governor, scored 76,298 votes to defeat his closest rival of the People's Democratic Party, who garnered 262,383 votes there. So already you have 2 incumbent governors out of the 11 seeking re-election that have actually won the election.
Yes, and also we're hearing from Akwa Ibom State. The PDP candidate there, Umo Eno, has won with 354,000 votes. He's emerged the winner under the banner of the PDP. Well, let's cross live to Port Harcourt, where Arise correspondent Andy Omano is at the Collation Centre to give us an update from there. Good to see you, Andy. What's going on where you are? What's happening there now?
Thank you so much, Charles. Good evening, viewers. We are still at the INEC Collation Center here along the popular Abba Road in Port Harcourt. The collations have just been suspended till tomorrow, but a total of 17 local government areas in Rivers State, results have been turned in, and we have just 6 to go. Tomorrow by 10 o'clock, we're expected to converge here for the final collation before the results of the governorship election will be announced. That is the situation here right now.
We know why we have decided to postpone the announcement of results. This is just barely 6:41 p.m. local time Nigeria. Why was it postponed?
Sorry, come again. I really can't get you to directly.
Asking you, Andy, why did INEC decide to postpone the collation of the results to tomorrow? Was there any reason given?
Okay, yes, the reason for it is that the outstanding 6 local government results have not been turned in. So it's expected, according to the state returning officer, that between now and tomorrow morning, the outstanding 6 local government results would have been turned in, and when collation resumes tomorrow by 10 a.m., whatever is outstanding would have been tidied, and the winner will be announced. Don't forget that elections were held in one of the council area in Rivers State today. That is Harcourt local government area, where the polls did not hold yesterday due to argumentation and crisis, as it were, and a ward in neighboring Degema local government area. But those elections held today, and it is expected that their results will also come in with the outstanding local government areas.
And Andy, I hope you can hear me there, but you talked about crisis, and we've heard a lot about attacks and clashes, etc., not just in River State, in other parts of the country. But have there also been any sense of any arrests or anything from the security services? Can we expect to see prosecutions, or are these people going to get away with it once again?
Yes, there's been a couple of arrests of those who perpetuated. Just this afternoon, we were told that a very popular politician in the governing People's Democratic Party, one of the local government areas, was arrested. That the hoodlums who reportedly perpetuated the crisis yesterday in Harcourt local government area were also picked up. But so far so good. The police has not come up to give us a definite position on what to expect. The only thing they confirmed was the fact that the young man who lost his life yesterday in Harcourt local government area, that is the Director General in one of the wards to the APC governorship candidate, architect Tonye Cole. Charles.
Unfortunate incidents we continue to record in Rivers State politics and election. And let me ask you, you say 17 local governments of the 23 have been declared so far. Have there been any disputed results so far? Because we heard from the former governor of the state and former minister of transportation, Rotimi Amechi, who basically, discarded the entire electoral process, saying INEC compromised.
Yes, thanks so much. Yes, there's been a lot of heated debate here at the Collation Center in Port Harcourt. Some of the party agents, for instance, Labour Party, National Rescue Movement, and Harcourt Party had said that some of the results declared should really not hold, that it was a shame and a sham for whoever conducted those elections yesterday to come declare results. More so where there was so much evidence of ballot boxes snatching, intimidation and the rest. For instance, in Kana local government yesterday, for more than an hour, Bori, the traditional headquarters of the Ogoni ethnic nationality, was under siege, and the result you won't believe today. The result from Kana local government area was declared, as it were. The opposition political party, candidates are crying blue murder. And the man in charge of the state returning officer had said, well, this is not the last that is going to be heard about this disputed result. There are different cadres. They need to take their observations to other levels where it will be eventually resolved. But for now, the collation would be tidied up, hopefully by tomorrow, and at the end of it, it will be announced. You know what one particular trend in Nigeria politics especially in this dispensation, is the expression that if you are aggrieved, go to the court. Probably that is what we are going to be seeing. But so far so good. 17 local governments gone, 6 to go, and the governing People's Democratic Party is running with a very, very large margin.
Well, Andy, I thought what you said now was exceedingly enlightening and also very interesting. I'm wondering if there is something about the fact that INEC declares results that are roundly disputed and then tells you to go to court when those results from the assessment of a lot of people appear to be dodgy and untoward. I mean, is there something about that that leaves a horrible, sickly smell in the air?
Well, I really cannot be able to put a finger on that now, but that is the insinuation of the opposition political parties, Charles, that look, if there are blatant evidences of ballot boxes snatching, intimidation, why should the electoral umpire represented in this context by the state returning officer not step down some of those results? But the state returning officer had always maintained that, look, at this point he is now, it is not within his purview to step down those results. Whoever is contesting them should resort to the courts, where at the end of the day their contestation will be looked into, and what will be done eventually.
And Andy, just before we let you go, I know you've been at the Collation Center, you monitored the election throughout the state yesterday, but can you give us a sense of what the atmosphere is like in Rivers State? What is security like?
Security is security is calm. The security situation, I should say, is calm. Everybody seems to be waiting with bated breath to see what is going to eventually be the outcome of yesterday's outing. I must report quickly that people are really not too enthusiastic, especially with what transpired in the presidential and governorship election, the presidential and national assembly election of almost 3 weekends ago. Yesterday, there was a very high level of voter apathy, and I think it was a fallout of their expectations from the previous election that did come to fruition.
Andy, thank you very much indeed, and get some well-deserved rest. You've done a pretty terrific job of covering a very complicated election down there in Rivers State. And Andy Amano is a RISE correspondent, and he was talking to us there from Port Harcourt. And Emmanuel Njoku is a director at Connected Development, or CODE, and he's also an election observer and an election analyst, and he joins us in the studio. Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. And you were telling us, you've got your team of election observers across many parts of Nigeria. I'm wondering how ubiquitous they are in the country. How many they are.
There's a spread across all the states.
But also, based on that, what your observations are so far.
Well, the election has come, but it's not gone yet. And my opinion of this election is that this election is or was a representation of the Nigerian society. Am I disappointed? Am I disappointed? Yes. Am I surprised? No. And I say this because, there is a thing about our elections. And how election day activities pan out depends on 3 variables. And one is INEC, 2 is law enforcement agencies. The 3rd one is political parties and their party agents and how they play out on the election day. So what we've seen, if we want to look at this election, governorship and state assembly election in isolation, we may say, yes, INEC did very well as regards early deployment. So we can see that they've learned lessons from the shortcomings of the presidential February 25th election. So there was early deployment, which is important in elections, so you can end the results in good time. And if you look at the IREV, you see that most of the results on the IREV are clear, showing that elections finished in good time. Then the deployment of the beavers, which I think we have mastered the beavers, which is also a game changer, which has played a major role in our elections. And I think this is something we should adopt and build on that. Then when you look at the result uploads, which was a major shortcoming in the presidential election, you can see here that there was progress in the, so as at midnight of yesterday, many of the states across Nigeria had already uploaded close to 60-65% of their results. So when you look at the election in itself in isolation, you will say, yes, we've done well. But it's not just INEC that makes election go well. How about the part of the security? How about the part of the political parties and their role in election? When you look at the role of the security yesterday, in as much as we saw them make attempts, make arrests in some few places, but however, in many places, it felt like a war situation. It felt like there was no security. And this is bearing in mind that there are security agencies in every polling unit across Nigeria. But what we saw yesterday, when you look at the videos, you would think you're seeing videos from 1999 or videos from 2003. I mean, you'll be shocked to tell that these things are happening in 2023. So it was a very, very terrible outing. And the political parties and their talks were all running amok, causing a lot of problem. I mean, in an election where you're flogging people, beating people so they vote a political party, one of our party agents, sorry, one of our observers in Ebonyi State was beaten up on election day in Ebonyi State. What wrong did she do? And she was wearing our T-shirt as an observer of Connected Development, and she was a lady, for that matter, Lucy Ogodo. She was beaten up. So what we did was we asked all our observers to observe from polling units where they will vote. Because 20,000 is a lot of numbers, so you don't want to post them in a places where you lose that number of people and deny them of their right to vote. So this is a lady who was observing the election in her polling unit in Ebonyi State. And when it was her time to vote, the party agents of a particular political insisted that she must vote for their political party. She refused. And when she had put her thumb on the party of her choice, she was beaten up. She was bleeding from her eyes. A lot of media houses have reported this. Most bloggers have reported it. I mean, she went viral with over 2.5 million views on Twitter because she tweeted it before she now got back to us. So she's in the hospital now, recuperating. So what kind of election is this where people bring out charms? It was quite shocking. But for me, why I say is a representation of the society is you ask this question. What is the staff strength of INEC? The staff strength of INEC, I understand, is about 16,500. But INEC, we understood, deployed about 1.2 million Nigerians to do these elections. These 1.2 million Nigerians that were deployed, nobody did a background check. These are Nigerians, the everyday Nigerians you see. These are Nigerians that still come from the pool of Nigerians who, as there is scarcity of cash, want you to pay 2,000 for every 5,000 naira you withdraw on your POS. These are Nigerians. The police and the law enforcement agencies that we are trusting to provide security in the election, who are they? They are your everyday policemen who have been carrying out campaigns to ensure that there is a ban on police brutality, which was what brought about the NSAS. These are policemen who mostly live in barracks. Charles, I don't know if you've been to any barracks recently. They are slums. These are policemen who
I have seen a few of them, and I agree with you 100%.
These are policemen who do not have access to good health care facilities, who most of them probably don't have life insurance. Their children cannot afford, private educations, as the case is right now. These are the people who have deployed to the field. And who are even our politicians? The same people. Who are our agents? The same people. So when you look at the people, the Nigerians who actually participated in this election, you would not probably be so shocked to see the outcome of what we've seen. But on the part of INEC may have done well. But when you look at the election holistically, I'll tell you frankly, in my opinion, I do not think we've made any progress. What I see is we are moving, but we are going around in circles. So the inconsistencies in February 2022 FCT municipal elections, INEC had challenges and issues with the beavers, but we went to Osun, I looked at it was better. I went to Ekiti, looked at it was it's getting better. We'll come back to presidential election, it totally got bungled. Then we'll do another one again. So what we've seen is a lot of inconsistencies. So I see it as not progress because it's just about we'll gain here, we'll lose here. We'll do another election, with the places we'll gain, we'll lose. The places we lost, we'll gain. So you see, we're just going around in circles. It's not really progress. And so we need to completely query how we do our elections. Because we are doing the same thing, same for maybe the beavers and the IRF, but what we are doing, the way we are deploying, It's the same thing. And no matter how long INEC decides to plan for elections or prepare for elections, even if we give INEC 6 years to prepare and plan for elections, how about the other variables, the political party and their people, the police that is supposed to provide security? And once there is no security in an election, you cannot say there is a free and fair and credible election. What is free? When our own observer was beaten because she didn't vote the party that she was directed to vote. So you cannot say it was free or fair.
I can imagine. I mean, and thankfully she's recuperating.
Yeah, she's doing well. Yeah,
we also had our crew attacked yesterday.
Yeah, we saw that.
And some media houses as well. But you know, you paint a very gloomy picture when you say that this election is a reflection of the Nigerian society. It then means that if society remains the same, we're going to have the same kind of elections
I agree.
for a long time if we do not change as a people. And that sounds like something that is, you know, impossible. Yes, and very bad. So how do we change society to see better elections? And it also calls to question our democracy, because elections are very pivotal for democracy. If we cannot have electoral process that are credible, transparent and fair, what does that say about our democracy?
Yeah, so it's very disappointing, and there's a way I like to explain our election in the context of in the context of democracy. You know, election for me is like your Android operating system or your Apple operating system. I mean, it's the operating system. Every other thing you want to achieve, whether it's good healthcare delivery, good education, anti-corruption, transparency and accountability sector, all of those things are now applications that you install on that operating system. So when you miss it at the point of your elections, every other thing you plant will be more like planting on an unfertile ground. You cannot make any much progress. Going forward, we really need to rework the way we do our elections. It's not working, and it's not working yet. We're paying so much for it.
Let's stick to specifics, because like I said, we're spending a lot of money on these elections. Spending a lot and getting absolutely nothing to write home about.
Speaking specifically, let's talk about INEC and the appointment and the recruitment of people that do INEC work. And for me, I want to start with the resident electoral commissioners, who are very, very key in election administration in Nigeria and delivering elections in Nigeria. How are they appointed? I know we have this culture of appointing professors to be our resident electoral commissioners across the states, appointing professors to be the returning officers. We've done this in 3 election cycles now. Has anything changed? Nothing has changed. And in my opinion, it is not working. And why do I say it's not working? That you are a professor. Yeah, when we say we are using professors, when we look at the schools where these professors are picked from, what is the quality of education and morals in these universities? So I don't think it's enough that we are using professors to run our elections. I would rather think, and because when you pick professors, because you say he's a professor to be an election administrator, these professors have zero experience on election management and election day processes. You are picking professors to become your reps, professors who have never been in the field to see how elections work. So I feel that the use and deployment and appointment of professors in our management of election process across the country, for me, is like putting round pegs in a square holes. It's not working. We need to look inward and start looking at. So because if I want to get a plumber to do a job in my place, I need a plumber who has an experience. If my car is having a problem, I need a mechanic. I look for a mechanic who has an experience. Then an election, as important as it is, election that affects every citizen of the country, we are now appointing on political patronage people and professors, with all due respect, who have zero experience in elections.
That's a very good point.
But it's not working.
That's a very good point, and that's one of the key things I think that has exercised INEC, which is why it keeps seeming to be doing this, making the same mistakes over and over again. But these elections, I mean, you're an observer, have been enormously competitive, haven't they? And that's because governors are extremely powerful and their positions are much sought after. How much do you lay the blame at the feet of the political parties as well? Because you talk about reforming INEC, and that's absolutely fundamental. But what about the political parties? Because they're the ones who then, having won by, free or foul means, get in there and take the reins of power.
So for the political parties and the governors, I feel we missed, and going back to the reforms I think we should have in our elections, then I'll use that to come to the question you asked. So you see, I don't think, first of all, we should be having 2 elections. We'll have election on the 25th of February. We'll come back after 2 weeks or 3 weeks and have another election. Why don't we just have these elections once and for all? That will save us a lot of costs. So it's just extra 2 ballots on the paper. I was privileged to observe the election in Kenya, like I mentioned the last time here, and they have election, just 1 election, and there are 5 ballot papers. Their presidency, their senate, they don't have House of Reps, their state assembly, their governor, and I think for independent candidates, 5 ballots. Everybody comes to the polls, and this thing happens, and everybody goes home. Now, why I'm saying this is, I think that we may see a bit of a different attitude from our political parties and people in public office. The reason I say this is, if you look at the February 25th election, with all of its shortcomings, and with the first time we're deploying beavers, and the shocker, and how the beavers changed the game, a lot of powerful political persons lost election. And I'd like to break it down. If you look at that election, there were 9 sitting governors who ran for office. 9 sitting governors who ran for Senate. Of these 9 sitting governors who ran for Senate, only 2 won the election. In the 2019 election, 6 sitting governors ran for office, 5 won. Only 1 lost. I think Ajimobi also that lost the election in 2019. And then if you put together the sitting governors and the former governors, these are powerful people in the country who ran for the office. There were about 27 or 28 of them. Only 10 of them won this election. Nigerians were able to vote out. So that was the shocker that the beavers brought to bear. Now, but you finished the election, and then we saw the fraud that happened because of the delay in the upload of the results on the IREF. Now you gave these people another opportunity to go back and have 3 weeks to plan. 3 weeks to plan violence, 3 weeks to find a way to manipulate the process. You give them all of that time. If we had this election, one-off election, the impact would have been very heavy, and Nigerians would have built on that, especially citizens who are very disappointed. We've seen we cannot exactly say what the voter turnout is, but from what we observe, and comparing the results with last election results, it is clear that we had lower voter turnout. And that simply, in my view, is more like a referendum of what the citizens see the election as. They don't believe it in anymore. In the city where I grew up, in Umuahia in Abia State, I saw a lot of people, my siblings were telling me that a lot of young people were playing football. Why? And I saw that even on channels. One of your reporters was showing that. Young people who typically, but in the last election, nobody was seen playing football. Everybody took it very seriously. But the shortcomings of INEC in that election, made everybody give up and believe that this will not work. So the politicians have gone back and they've planned, they've come back. But however, looking at the statistics and data I gave around the number of powerful politicians that lost the election, I want to believe that they understand that the game has changed. Even the way they rigged before is no longer the way they rig and changing numbers. So that because of this reason, when they come into power from the president-elect down to the House of Assembly members, I believe that they will serve the people more and commit more to serving them, because in no short time, in the next 4 years, another election will come, and hopefully if Nigerians have picked interest, they will come back to the polls and hopefully vote them out.
And very quickly, and to sum that up, the process is as important as the results. So when people vie for office, they should understand that. You've talked about INEC, and you've talked about, other stakeholders, but I want to talk about the people. I know you touched this very briefly earlier. Have you seen enough understanding on the part of Nigerians to show that they also are interested in the process as they are in the results?
So it's for every citizen and for every voter in the country. You do not necessarily need to understand the Electoral Act and the stipulations of the Electoral Act. The citizen, in their whether limited knowledge or exposure, their duty is to come out on election day and cast their vote for the person of choice. It is not the so I'll speak to something else in addition to this. So INEC is supposed to be there by 8:30 a.m. and conduct the election. The security personnel are supposed to be there on their own to provide security. The political parties are supposed to be there to ensure that they don't steal their votes. But what we see, like we've seen, I saw what was happening in Rivers State where they were talking about the number of cancellations, and there's a trend that we need to stop, and that's speaking to the reforms that we must see post-election. I do not think it is right that I will come out and spend my whole day to vote, and for no fault of mine, at the end of the day, either the fault of the INEC officials, there is overvoting, and you will cancel all of my results and make it invalid. I don't take it because it's not my fault. It is the fault of the INEC officers or the political parties. Or I come out to vote, and thugs come to the place and destroy the ballots, and you now say that the result has been cancelled. So you're only enabling these people to keep coming out to destroy ballots. I think that going forward, if there is overvoting or whether thugs come to a particular place and destroy elections, there is no hurry to collect and return and declare a winner. Election will happen there. If there's a voting, INEC need to come back there because it's not my fault as a voter that my polling unit result was cancelled. My duty is just simply to come there and do my own bit and vote and wait and point the count. If there is overvoting, it is not my fault. So you should not cancel my vote, which is very important, because INEC staff didn't do their own bit, or you cancel the result because criminals and bandits came to the place to destroy the ballots. INEC, going forward, if there is overvoting, election should happen there the next day. If thugs come to a place and destroy ballots, election should happen there the next day. If we have that culture, I tell you, even the people that send thugs will realize that it's of no use, because why go there, pay thugs and waste time and shoot when you know election will still happen there second day? If it happen the second day, election happen there the third day till everybody gets to vote.
Well, those are very good words of advice. Emmanuel Njoku is a director at Connected Development or CODE, is also an election observer and an election analyst. And we want to thank you very much indeed. Well, let's give you some updates now from Gombe. The state governor, Inua Yahaya, and governorship candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has won the Gombe state governorship elections, defeating his closest rival, Jibrin Bade of the People's Democratic Party and Kamisu Mailantaki of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, to emerge victorious.
Indeed. Declaring the results at the INEC Collation Center in the state, the returning officer, Professor Maimuna Waziri, says Governor Inua Yahya scored a total of 342,821 to defeat the People's Democratic Party, who polled 233,132 votes, and the NNPP, who polled 19,861 votes to emerge winner.
Mohammed Inua of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
That's results there from Gombe State. And you're watching special coverage of Nigeria's state governorship and houses of assembly elections. There's more when we return. Stay with us. And you're with Arise News in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, as we bring you special cross-country coverage of the 2023 governorship and state assembly elections. INEC officials are counting ballots across Nigeria in a vote to pick new governors in a tight race amid reports of violence and voter intimidation. In places like Imo State in the southeast, a state that's been a hotbed of separatist and political violence, security forces rescued more than a dozen electoral officials who'd been abducted by thugs. According to the Electoral Commission, INEC, election materials were lost there.
Indeed, and in Lagos and elsewhere, crisis after crisis have been reported, with acts of thuggery, intimidation and disenfranchisement of voters said to have occurred on a wide scale. INEC has been under considerable pressure and scrutiny after problems and turbulence during last month's presidential election. Among them, failures in the Beavers and IRF systems designed to prevent the manipulation of votes. So how different and credible has this process been this time?
Well, let's try and cross now to a media briefing by the Independent National Electoral Commission here in Abuja. Let's listen in.
And state assembly elections held yesterday, Saturday, 18th March 2023. In keeping with this promise, we had meetings with our resident electoral commissioners and service providers and the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security to review processes and procedures to ensure more optimal delivery of personnel and materials to various locations for the election to facilitate the opening of polls on time. Consequently, majority of the polling units nationwide opened on schedule and citizens were attended to promptly. Similarly, there was improved voter authentication using the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, while the uploading of the polling unit results to the INEC result viewing portal witnessed a remarkable improvement. We have left no stone unturned as far as the processes and procedures under the control of the Commission were concerned. However, for difficult and unforeseen circumstances outside the Commission's control, we did our best to respond, especially where processes were disrupted by actors over whom we have little or no control. Such diabolical behavior did not only affect citizens, but also impacted on the Commission's officials and processes. INEC staff, both regular and ad hoc, were victims of violence. Some of our staff were abducted, some were harassed, some were intimidated, some were hospitalized, and in one case killed. Nevertheless, where we could not deploy to enable citizens to vote, the Commission took decisive action to remobilize to such places to enable citizens to exercise their franchise. Unfortunately, we could not extend the same to areas where voting was disrupted and election materials destroyed. We are keeping our eyes on those areas and will not hesitate to remobilize where the outcome of the election is affected. At the moment, collation of results and declaration of winners for the 28 governorship and 993 state assembly elections are ongoing nationwide. We are committed to the sanctity of the process and will not hesitate to take drastic measures against proven irregularities. Allegations of voter inducement, harassment, and manipulation of results will be reviewed and addressed. Earlier today, the Commission alerted the nation to the invasion of our Obingwa local government area office in Abia State by talks during the collation of results for the governorship and state assembly elections. In contention was the collated result from the registration areas for the governorship election in that local government area. The intention was to force the collation of these contentious results. The behavior of these talks is unacceptable, and there will be a thorough review of the results. The Commission does not take the patience of citizens for granted, and will continue to take steps to protect the integrity of the vote and consolidate the progress so far made in the electoral process. I thank all of you.
Well, we were rather hoping that they were going to take questions there, but it doesn't look like it, does it? Anyway, he talked about, that's Festus Okoye, who's a commissioner at the Electoral Commission. He talked about the collation of results and declaration of winners ongoing nationwide. He said they are reviewing allegations of manipulation and voter inducement and will act accordingly. He also talked about things like thugs intervening in the process in Abia State and said they would take action.
Indeed, he also said INEC staff are victims of violence. One death, unfortunately, was recorded of an INEC staff. He says the Commission does not take the patience of citizens for granted. He says INEC will not hesitate to take drastic measures He also said they did their best, especially where they had control. However, there were areas where they had little or no control, Charles.
Absolutely. I don't know if we can go to Delta State now. Okay, we're hoping to take you to the Collation Center in Delta State in just a minute, but let's take you back to that INEC briefing in Abuja here, where they're taking questions.
So I can't hear you properly.
Imo was 19, right? Imo was right, 19. Those are broken. Yeah.
On the presidential election result as well, the commission explained that there are some challenges that were experienced in the uploading of the results. Is there anything the commission has found out that caused such issues that was experienced during the process?
On the first question, the commission did not deploy to 176,846 polling units during the presidential and national assembly election. We explained to Nigerians that there were polling units that had 0 registered voters, and consequently, the commission deployed to a total of 176,606 polling units. Not only that, there were places where elections did not take place, and there were places where deployment did not take place. So in those areas, you don't expect any result to be uploaded to the INEC result viewing portal for such areas. So the commission, before we reconfigured the beavers for the governorship and state assembly election, we made sure that every data that was left behind in the beavers relating to the presidential and national assembly election was pushed to the back end for purposes of giving those who want to go to court or giving litigants the opportunity of having the data from the back end of the commission relating to those who were accredited during the presidential and national assembly elections. So we don't have any data as of today remaining in the beavers. Every data has been pushed to the accreditation back end, and political parties and candidates have been applying for this particular data, and the commission has been making the accreditation data available to all those who are interested. On the issue of the number of staff abducted, we are still collating figures relating to the staff of the commission that have been abducted. But we know that in 2 or 3 states of the Federation, some staff of the commission were abducted. Some of them have been released, and some of them are still facing various degrees of threat in various states of the Federation. I'm sure that by tomorrow, or by the time the collation of results ends, we will have a complete picture of the number of staff abducted and the number that are facing one form of harassment or intimidation. The last question on the issue of challenges with the uploading of a polling unit level result. With the governorship and state assembly election, you can see that there was improved performance of the INEC result viewing portal in terms of uploading of polling unit results in real time. You can also notice that there was improved performance in terms of the voter accreditation and authentication. What that means is that the Commission is making progress and also making efforts to overcome whatever challenges we recorded during the presidential and national assembly election. But I believe that in the fullness of time, when we are done with all the elections, as an electoral management body, we will sit down, do both internal and external review of our processes and procedures. And there's a possibility that during that particular time, we may come up with more measures or more actions to be taken to make sure that the type of glitch we experienced during the presidential and national assembly elections does not reoccur anymore. So let me, on behalf of the chairman of the, is there any other hand? Okay. That should be the last question, I presume. Yeah.
Speak a bit louder.
Yes, yeah.
I know you said the Commission is reviewing cases where there's violence and all of that. I want to really understand, is it that elections or supplementary elections will be conducted in cases where not disrupted the process? I know that there were rescheduled elections that happened today, but there were more disruptions in other places. I just want to clarify. I want to understand really what you mean when you say you are reviewing it. What's really going to happen in cases that the process was disrupted?
Well, in terms of the Commission's processes and procedures, by the provisions of the Constitution, by the provisions of the Electoral Act, and by our regulations and guidelines, there are various actions to be taken when certain things happen. For instance, Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022 gives the Commission the power to review declarations and returns made if, in the Commission's view, those declarations were made under duress or those declarations were made in flagrant violation of the Electoral Act, in flagrant violation of the regulations and the guidelines of the Commission. So the Commission has the power to carry out that particular review. Secondly, the Commission can go back to go and conduct a supplementary election in a constituency if, for instance, out of the Commission did not, in the first place, mobilize to that particular location. Let me give you a practical example. Yesterday, the Commission could not conduct election at Victoria Garden City in Lagos. That particular election took place today because there was a disagreement between the Commission and the residents in the estate relating to the siting of the polling units. Prior to yesterday, the polling units were located inside the estate itself. But because of issues that arose during the presidential and national assembly elections, we decided to bring out the polling units out of the estate. So there was a disagreement. So elections did not take place, and we decided that that election should take place today because there was an agreement between the Commission and the residents in that particular estate. Now, if during the conduct of an election has been disrupted in certain places, in some instances, the law and our regulation says that if our processes and our procedures are disrupted, or if there's resistance to the use of the beavers, that we can give 0-0 to that particular polling unit and take it that everybody in that particular polling unit has voted. In some instances, if elections are cancelled in some polling units, and then during the process of collation, we look at the margin of lead, and we believe that the margin of lead, or the collation and returning officer believes that the margin of lead will affect the outcome of the election, we can go back and conduct supplementary election in those places. So some of the processes and procedures relating to whether we will conduct supplementary election is within the purview of the collation stroke returning officer to make that declaration. But reviews that are made after declarations and returns are made remains within the ambit of the commission, and the commission can do those reviews. So circumstances, and also it depends on issues arising from those ones. Now, in relation to Kano, as at now, I don't have information, or we don't have information relating to what is going on in Kano presently. But there's a resident electoral commissioner that is supposed to be with the returning officer, and we also have our collation support staff that are also there. So if the returning officer believes that a supplementary election is indicated based on the margin of lead, the returning officer will make that call. If the returning officer also believes that a supplementary election is not indicated based on the processes and procedures of the commission and based on our regulations and guidelines, the returning officer will make a declaration and a return. But if at the end of the day we find out as a commission that those declarations and returns were made not in conformity with Section 65 of the Electoral Act, we have the right to review such declarations and do the right thing. So I thank you very much for coming, and I wish you well. Thank you.
That is the INEC Commissioner for Voter Education, Festus Okoye, there addressing the media and Nigerians. He talked about a number of INEC staff who've been abducted. He said some have been released while others are still facing various levels of threat.
Indeed, Charles, and he also said that the Commission does not take the patience of citizens for granted. They're doing their best, especially in areas where they have control.
Absolutely. He also explained the sort of actions that INEC can take in the event of electoral problems, including supplementary elections. Well, from the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja, let's take you now to the Collation Center in Delta State, where I believe results are being announced. Let's listen in.
BP 04. BP 04. LP 894. LP 894. NNPP 27. NNPP 27. NRM 27. NRM 27. PDP 15899. PDP 15899. PRP 28. PRP 28. SDP 424. SDP 424. YPP 29. YPP 29. ZLP 10. ZLP 10. Total valid votes 28332. Total valid votes 28332. Rejected votes 503. Rejected votes 503. Total votes cast 28835. Total votes cast 28835.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any incidents, recorded incidents?
Yes.
Yes. What happened?
In RA 07, that is Emevo, there was a cancellation of.
What happened?
Reported cases of violence.
Violence,
Yes.
okay. So that's 0 score.
0 score.
0 score. Any other thing? Any other incident?
Okay, there were some units at the RA level that were cancelled.
Some units that?
At the RA level that were cancelled due to the same reported cases of.
What's the reason for the cancellation?
Violence.
Violence, so
Yes.
0 voting.
Yes, sir.
0 votes.
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, party agents, questions? APC, yeah, go ahead. Please, microphone for the party agent. I want to make comment.
For the record again, sir. We heard her say that there was violence in Emevo, but she did not name the units that had 0 votes. I wish to state that in Unit 8, particularly, of that ward, this is photograph of somebody who was macheted, which tallies with her report. And it is not restricted to that unit alone. Because she did not state the units, we shall be supplying you units where such violence took place, but their results are captured in the results.
You said 0 votes.
Sir.
Yes?
I said units where such incidents took place, but their results are captured in this result just presented now.
Okay, but
Thank
you don't know the units now. Do you know the units now?
I just said she did not name the units.
Do you know the units?
One is here with me now.
So write it and bring it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do the reports, detailed ones with the units, and bring them. Any other comments, questions, observations? No? So please, do we accept the results? Yes, we accept the result. Please bring the results. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll keep waiting. I think more results are on the way. Let's keep waiting. Let's see how far we can go. Thank you.
Well, you've been watching live reportage from Delta State. Collation of results on the way there. They've just announced one of the local government areas in the state, and they're waiting more results to come in. But let's return to the studio as we keep our eyes across the country today. Joining us in the studio now is Victor Adetula, who is an election analyst at the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. Thank you so much for joining us. You're also a professor of political science. Thank you for being here.
Good evening.
Good evening. What do you make of the process so far? Yes, we talk about the importance of the last lap of the electoral process, which is the collation and announcement of results, is as important as the voting process itself, isn't it? And how would you rate, the country when it comes to this last lap of the process?
Well, one would readily say that events are still unfolding, and one needs to be very careful as to not to make very swift conclusions about it. But if you go back to the tip, I'm talking reference to the INEC press release. I think this is
the press briefing.
This is significant in terms of communicating to Nigerians where things lie, and of course also a kind of self-assessment, and also some words of assurance that look, we're going to do a thorough review and also communicate what needs to be done. I think this is remarkable in that sense. Of course, one feels a little bit disturbed with the level and scope of violence. To use the language of the INEC diabolical behavior across board. I think this is bad for our democracy, even though one admits that it's an evolving process. I do agree with you that both the process is as good as the outcome. But so far, we are so much interested in the process when we know what has happened and we are able to explain the how and why and the process. I think that will help us to make improvement.
Yes, but you talked about, before we came on air, some of the issues that you think have exercised INEC the most in the course of this process. What is it, in your assessment, that's undermined their efforts the most once again?
Well, the general operation, or if you like, operational environment, the Nigerian context, provide opportunity as well as constraint, I will say that. Then, of course, we have to ask questions about the capacity to manage this level of technological advancement. I think this is very, very important. And you agree with me that it has really given a lot of concern across.
Well, can you explain that a bit more? Because you talked specifically about IREV.
Yeah. With respect to the IREV, you see, there have been a lot of reference to IREV, and with some of the situation reports that have been coming up, or you see largely that people are not yet fully satisfied with that. I think INEC at the appropriate time should be able to make response and explain why the situation has been like this.
Governors in Nigeria, we know, wield important influence when it comes to politics and governance. And of course, the state houses of assembly, the lawmakers in the state are also very important. Unfortunately, we see that most of them are tied to the aprons of the governors in power. Would you say that because of that influence that they exert, is responsible for the level of violence we see when it comes to the local elections? And I'm asking because even the NSA, the security advisor to the country, had said prior to this election that it's a different ball game when it comes to local elections because there are more emotions. When you think about all of that, how then do we discourage third-degree violence when it comes to these very important elections? The governors are powerful, they hold a powerful position, we know, but how do we discourage, this situation we see around the elections that bring them to office?
Yes, you see, I don't want to hold only the governor responsible for this diabolical behavior, to use the language of INEC. I think I said maybe here yesterday that what is at stake? I may agree with you that governors are playing a very critical role. And this is my reason for that. Even before now, things that has to do with the decrease or reduction of the power and influence of governor within the state have been vigorously resisted. The issue of autonomy for local government, for instance, which has nothing to do with direct election, was resisted. Allocation resisted. And of course, the allegation that governors are the one presiding over allocation to local government. So if you put all this together, you possibly will see that governors are likely to adopt both orthodox and orthodox means to retain power. Either those who are returning, or those who want to make sure that somebody they can cast some influence on is in power. But again, I said there are other stakeholders that have not made things easy.
Well, sorry, finish what you're saying.
Yeah. Now, I'm making the point that there are other people in alignment with governors and others that have not made things very easy for the
It's very interesting, particularly to international observers. I've spoken to quite a few of them. Some of them are around where we are now. And this is, they say, is this what Nigerians can look forward to? All the money that's been invested in INEC, and every single time there is an election, it falls far short of expectations. People killed, rights trampled upon, government officials defending the indefensible, the very seams that hold this country together rent asunder by ethnic warriors who incite people, engage in hate speech, and get away with it. How can a country flourish in such circumstances?
What a very detailed negative.
Well, I mean, it's a factual assessment.
Yes, yeah, well, that's it. And for me, as an analyst, I'm concerned about how and why. Why will somebody want to make sure my clan member retains power? Possibly because he or she doesn't feel secure with others.
And within the Nigerian context.
Then I want to look at the larger context.
Yeah.
What is the state and nature of governance in that environment, where collation going on and results are coming in, some governors retaining their seats? And I was wondering, what has made this happen? Has it to do with primordial issue or performance in governance? So you see, there's a gamut of factors that we have to play up for detailed analysis. But again, for me, international observer comment, very important, is part of being part of the global
well, that's how
community.
they see Nigeria.
That is it.
But that's how a lot of Nigerians
I am
see Nigeria.
concerned with how Nigerians see Nigeria.
Yeah,
I'm
a lot of them see it that way.
You see, I'm concerned about the person who is voting because of the level of frustration. I'm concerned about the Nigeria that we will get to where people are able to take decisions based on the performance of politicians. That is and I think the legitimacy of incoming government at the state level should be determined by the satisfaction of the people and not necessarily the bogus reports here and there. I am not saying that international observation is bad. It's fantastic.
No, actually, it's not just international observers.
Let us relate.
It's also Nigerian observers who observe elections. And your organization, the Center for Democracy and Development, also sends a lot of people out into the field. I mean, we've had Idayat Hassan here, and that analysis isn't far divorced from her own sense of how the elections have gone.
Of course, like I told you, when we talk about Beaver and others, I said, the perception of people, in spite of the assurance from INEC, is such that, look, they still feel things are not working so well. I mean, I agree with you, but I want a situation whereby we can take this holistically. I wish we can emphasize the report of the ordinary people on the field.
Okay, for the moment, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for joining us. And we're going to take you back to Asaba, which is the capital of Delta State, where the collation is ongoing. Collation and announcement of results. Let's listen in once again.
24 AA 00, that's 0. ADC 41, ADC 41, ADP 39, ADP 39, APC 1515620, APC 15620, APGA 542, APGA 542, APM 6, APM 6, 06, yeah, okay, APP 20, APP 20, BP 02, BP 02, LP 571, LP 571, NNPP 91, NNPP 91, NRM 28, NRM 28, PDP 15513, 15513, PRP 24, SDP 2268, SDP 2268, YPP 18, YPP 18, ZLP 13, ZLP 13. Now the total valid votes 34820, 34820. Rejected votes 574. Rejected votes 574. Then total votes cast 35394. Total vote cast 394, 393. Sorry, I'm very, very sorry. 35394. 35394. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any incidents? The incidents we had in Yobe South. Speak out. We're not hearing. We try to resolve them. Like what? Okay. There are cases of there are cases of what? Violence. Yes. Cases of violence, but some of them did not affect the voting. Election process. Those that affected the election process, depending on what happened, we could not get, votes. So 0 votes. It was 0 votes. 0 votes. Yes. Then other cases is just cases of Overvoting.
0 votes?
Zero voting.
You have all the records?
Yes, the records are there.
All right. Party agents, we have the result of Ughelli South. Questions? All right. APC, yes. Give microphone to APC, please. No problem.
Returning officer, sir.
Yes, sir.
In Ward 2.
Ward 2 of Ughelli South.
That's Jeremy Ward 2.
Yes.
Which is Ward 8 overall. Ward 8.
Yes.
Jeremy 2. That is what it is called.
Ward?
Jeremy 2. That is Ward 8 in Ughelli South.
Okay.
At collation, the results that were given to polling unit agents was discovered to be fake results in all the units. And then new results came out, and that was vigorously challenged. Now, we want to know whether, as requested, that has been taken care of, or it is part of what has been submitted here. Because it has been our request over there. That is my local government, sir, that those results should be cancelled, because it was fake results that were given to all agents, except the agents of PDP that later turned up with original copies of the INEC results. Thank you. In addition to that, as you have been requesting me, I now have the petition in respect of Bomadi. Thank you, sir.
All right. Collation officer and EO, can you respond to what he has said?
Well, it is a false allegation.
It is false allegation?
Yes, what happened is that the presiding officers had their results for what collation.
Yeah.
Then some people now came with another result.
Okay.
Which the collation officers disagreed to accept. What they used to collect, what they collected is the result. What the ward collation officers did was to collect results from the presiding officer, not from any other.
Okay, thank you. APC agent, submit your. Okay, please.
Please, how do you know there were fake results? No, sir. How do you know those results were fake results?
Sir, when you are an agent of a party, you are expected to bring back duplicate copies of the original result. Now, if a presiding officer has issued you with a copy of the result and you go, then at collation of the result at the ward level, you now see that something different is what is being collated. You must come to the conclusion that something has happened. And it is, look, sir, we are not making a case that it was only APC agents that discovered that the result that was being collected is different from what they got. It happened. I did not just say Ward 1, Ward 2. I'm being specific here, Ward 8. That is what happened. And it should stun anybody that such a thing happened on the watch of the commission in that local government.
I had specifically instructed all electoral officers to sign the PU result sheet. Did you, did you sign the result sheet? Sit down. You are not on the. Did you sign those results?
I signed those results. I have the two results they presented to me when we were collating, after we have already corrected our results.
Is that, is
this is the fake result.
So after the same result in separation?
See the original result, which I distributed to SPOs, and the SPOs distributed it to the POs. And this is the result that was uploaded to our IREF.
Did you sign that?
Yes, I signed it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, but he has made some complaints. No problem.
bring your write-up. Before we will make final declaration, we will look at all these things. We're not going to make declaration without looking at these things you're saying. We will look at them, ask those who need to also answer, and then before we make a final declaration. So please, feel free, write these things and bring them. When we finish collation, we'll take time to look at these your complaints with them too, then at the end of the day. No, if he is not specific, how do we look at it? It will be specific when he's writing, and then bring it. Yes, Abga. Yes, Prof.
Thank you. I think I have an eagle eye to see the results that the EO displayed. And that result is torn. The original result is torn. What happened?
EO, CO, what happened? Why is the result torn? Original result torn, why?
This original result, when they brought this one as the result,
yes,
they told them that this is the original result. They started struggling to snatch this result from the PO. That was why it got done like this.
No problem. Okay, so we will get all the complaints from the APC party agents specifically, and then we'll look at them before we make declarations. So please be rest assured. But you said you have the petition now against Bomadi. Please feel free, give it to me. All right. He should do what? So give the...
Please, since he told us that they gave some fake results.
Wait, that they are talking now. Wait, they are talking. It's on the thing.
It should be in possession of one of the fake results. So you should still tender it as an evidence.
No, all those things when we're interrogating
let him bring it, let's so that we see
the paper will not be enough to talk now. If you write in paper, you also bring the evidence now. When we are going to talk, we'll call him, we'll call the other people, and then make decisions.
Please, if they are saying...
he will bring some of the fake report he's talking about. It's not enough to write fake report in the paper. You will bring sample of the fake reports that you think, so there's no problem. We will look at it. He's a lawyer, he knows all those things. Now that is not whatever you are just reading on paper, we just take like that. There will be evidence to back them, and it will provide a... In fact, these days they do front loading. Is that not what they do in court? Front loading. Madam, is that not what people do in court? Front loading. You cannot bring this one and bring evidence later. When you are submitting, you front load. Even anything you rely on, you bring that at the same time. You don't bring something then later bring something to support it. That's what they do now, front loading. All the evidence is attached as you are submitting. But in this case now, we can accept this. Later, when we start the interrogation, you'll be able to provide more information on what we need. Thank you. But wait, let me take the result first. That's for Bomadi, is it not? Let me take this one first. Ugoli South. No, let me take Ugoli South. Any other comment on Ugoli South? Do we accept the results? Okay, please. Results accepted. Bring your results. I like the sincerity of the APC party agents. You know why? Even the place is protesting, he won. He won the local government. Still, he said, let me not keep quiet because I won. That's a very nice person. Thank you. Collation officer, bring your results. No, come now, bro. Let me have a handshake to bro. Bro, thank you. South local government. Which is my result? Madam, bring the result back, please. Bring my result back. I am giving you the handshake. Then party agents, APC, bring your Bomadi protest. Bomadi protest. You put it in Bomadi result. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for deepening our democracy. Is it not? Thank you for deepening our democracy. Do we have any other results? One more local government? Yes, one more local government. Okay. Are they through with e-collation? Not yet. Okay. All right. Okay. Collation, can we get the remaining local governments? What's the issue? Eh? Please, let's get that one.
Well, you're watching a live collection of results out of the South state of Delta. Well, of course, we've seen 12 local government results trickling, but of course, we're seeing some opposition to the results as they've been ruled out by the INEC official there.
Well, a few states have already been announced, and you've seen how the collation is going. And by and large, a few others are being expected. Specifically, in Kwara State, Governor Abdulrazak Abdurrahman has won his re-election bid as the governor of the state for the second term in office. Abdulrazak, who contested on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, polled 273,424 votes to beat his closest rival, Yaman Abdullahi of the People's Democratic Party.
And in Yobe State, Governor Maimela Buni is the winner of the election in the state, where Buni of the All Progressives Congress scored 317,113 to defeat his closest rival, Sheriff Abdullahi of the People's Democratic Party, who actually scored 104,259 votes.
Let's take you to Ogun State in southwest Nigeria, where the governor, Dakpo Abiodun, has been re-elected for a second term in office. Abiodun polled over 276,000 votes to win.
And another incumbent governor in the southwest, Seyi Makinde, has now been declared the winner in Oyo State. Well, Makinde polled 563,617 votes, while his closest rival, Senator Teslim Folari of the APC, scored over 251,000. Well, Adebayo Adelabu of the Accord Party came a distant third, polling 38,757.
Well, in Gombe State, Governor Inua Yahya has also retained his seat, defeating his closest rival, Jubrin Bade of the People's Democratic Party, and NNPP's Kashimu Hamisu Lantaki. Yahya scored a total of 342,821 to emerge the winner.
And in Akwa Ibom State, the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Umar Eno, has been declared the winner. Well, Eno got 356,348 votes to beat YPP's Senator Basi Akpan, who scored 136,262 votes, and APC's Akanonem Udofia, who came third.
Well, coming back to the studios to make sense of these results and what they mean in the next dispensation is Arise, Director of News and Politics Editor, Samda Sambo. Good to see you and thanks for your time. Thank you so much. I'm almost going to say congratulations, your prediction, based on your predictions, because sometimes you look, because you've been covering politics for, for many years. Let us in on what you've seen so far, but specifically, let's start from Ogun State, where Dakwa Abiodun has just been re-elected.
Yeah, the race was very close with Adebutu, having seen the controversies. The major upset there is the APM's candidate, who was backed by former Governor Amosu, and he came a distant third. So, politics is local, and when incumbents are going for re-election, it's a different ballgame altogether. But I can say that if you look at the gap between the PDP and the APC there, I can say that, the PDP gave the APC a very good fight for its money. And if they had settled some of the issues that they had with the issues of the primaries on time, Dakwa Abiodun would have suffered major losses alongside his party. But you could see, and that's why, we must begin to take this election within certain context. The context of internal democracy in political parties. Once the oppositions are going to the polls disunited, the outcome will always be there to stare them in the face.
The same thing some would say happened even with the PDP in close by Oyo State. Well, if you look at it, Makinde, he's actually breaking the jinx for the second time, getting a second term. Ajimobi was the only governor in the past who had done that. Did this come to you as a surprise, looking at the fact that the PDP had lost all senatorial seats going into the polls?
I make the prediction here just within the week that he will be re-elected. Why? Because the indices are actually different. There's an IOU that is being owed to Makinde by the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because Makinde went out of his way to deliver Oyo State for Tinubu. And I had made a prediction here that he's going to be re-elected, and Teslim Folarin may likely be given something in form of compensation by the president-elect to actually relax a bit and allow Governor Makinde, come forward and emerge winner, so that he, Teslim Folarin, may be settled with something in Abuja. Because if Oyo State had not come for Tinubu, it would have been a different ballgame in terms of the presidential elections. So Oyo, Makinde delivered fully to Tinubu, and so Tinubu and his elders would have definitely sat down to see how they would support Makinde. You could see the reception that Makinde gave to Tinubu when he was, contesting. A lot of people had seen what was going on. And then you throw back to the alliance, the G5 governors, with the same IOU that was done in Rivers State. And then, of course, when it comes to this governorship election, the president-elect and his party would have to draw back a bit to allow those who supported him to have their way. And so this is politics.
Some certainly, as they say out there on the streets, OYO on your own. Certainly, Makinde wasn't on his own.
Yeah, he played the game very well.
And this is not the first time we've seen this. Recall during the time of Babatunde Raji Fashola and President Jonathan, we saw the same. And the same Tinubu was at the center of that bargain. Speak to us more.
Yeah, in 2011, even Tinubu used his own presidential candidate, then Nuhu Ribadu, to negotiate with the federal government. That's to deliver Jonathan's re-election. If you may say re-election, election as president, then that was his first time of being re-elected. So that Jonathan will be able to scale all the hurdles when the northern, alliances were being formed against him here and there. And then with that, it was easier for, Jonathan to be able to coast home. And then, of course, you can see Ribadu still going around with Tinubu today. So there are some times when you have to tell your lieutenants to actually step back for a much more bigger purpose. And then in the future, or of course, not quite long, they could actually get some better rewards. So someone like Nuhu Ribadu, who was the then presidential candidate and who is one of the handyman of the president-elect, you will see that in the next government that's coming up, a lot of things will happen. So, I mean, that's pure politics.
Sometimes let's leave the southwest and go to the south-south, where Akwa Ibom State was seeing it remain in the PDP with Umo Eno. And, of course, the close person who came second, Senator of the YPP, that's Basi Akpan, who was of the PDP just after the primaries before he had to move because he says he's been rigged out of the primaries. This result, did this come to you as a surprise, especially looking at all the litigations that the PDP went into this election with, that we just got judgment just days before the polls?
Yeah, the pastor just had a happy hour miracle. I mean.
On Fridays, maybe Uyo should be where
he has said that every Friday in Akwa Ibom said if he wins, will be a happy hour. So it's a happy hour miracle for the pastor who has just won. But like you said, I mean, a lot of us actually were taken by surprise with, Senator Basi Akpan's, Albert Akpan's, reboot of the electoral process within the state. I mean, when you see the APC and the NNPP, I had thought that even the YPP was going to come forth because you see Akanimo, Dofia of the APC, and then of course you see the former minister, the former APC national secretary, who was the NNPP candidate. I thought that, I mean, they will perform better, but well, this is pure politics, considering Basi Akpan's challenges that he had, including a conviction which he had to get a bail from, and then the case is still on, and a lot of people like this will, believe in him and still vote for him. I mean, it's a miracle, actually, and that tells us one thing, that if we're able to develop other political parties, some of the fringe political parties around, and prepare them as very good vehicles without the opposition, dividing themselves. I mean, if you add the votes of the YPP, the NNPP, and then the APC, I mean, it could have really thrown these guys off balance. It could have been close to the figures that we have by the PDP. But traditionally, Akwa Ibom has always been a PDP state, and that's why you would have seen all the divisions. So whatever votes you actually have in YPP is actually PDP votes, PDP protest votes.
Well, some would even say the APC had its own challenges. Remember, Udo Odenya was actually with the APC.
Before he moved to the NNPP.
That litigation as well.
So the NNPP's votes are protest votes of the APC, so the while the YPP votes are protest votes of the PDP.
But a lot of conversation about the internal democracy of our political parties. That's something we need to have a conversation about maybe much later.
I've been singing it here over and over. Political parties are accusing INEC now of not organizing elections very well. But meanwhile, they organize shambolic elections that it had to take the courts to start deciding the rightful candidates for them. So if we don't get it right at the primary process in political parties, why should we be throwing a lot of blames on INEC when the same political parties that are accusing INEC of not organizing credible elections are unable to organize credible primaries? And it's the courts that are deciding the candidates for them, not even their own party members. Something is wrong.
Some that I understand our team is set in Bauchi as the collation of the governorship and House of Assembly results are on.
4-2 AAC 4-2 ADC 238 ADC 238 ADP 79 ADP 79 APC 22928 APC 22928 APM 49 APM 49 APP 11 APP 11 LP 183 LP 183 NNPP 3166 NNPP 3166 NRM 771 NRM 71 PDP 35100. PDP 35100. PRP 21. PRP 21. SDP 15. SDP 15. ZLP 05. ZLP 05. Total number of ballot votes 62027. Total number of ballot votes 62027. Rejected votes 659. Rejected votes 659. Total votes cast 62686. 62686. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. What about cancellations? What about cancellations? Do you have any cancellation? Or
Yes, actually, in Tafawa Balewa local government, there are 2 units where cancellation of results has taken place. One in Way registration area, Tafara Kudu Primary School. Actually, there was cancellation there as a result of overvoting.
a polling unit number, please? The code, sorry.
The code is 016.
016. Okay.
There was also another one in Bal, which actually took place in 2 areas. In 2 areas, 2 polling units, Bambaki, Kofa Serki, code 016, and Yola Nora Primary Schools, 004. This is mostly as a result of disruption of electoral process.
Okay, the one you mentioned about overvoting, what are the number of votes, registered votes, and the votes?
763. 763. 763.
Okay, is that all? Okay, thank you very much. All right, the gallery, please. Agents, any comment? Yes, please. Okay.
Total the last 3 figures. Total ballot votes 62027. 62027. Rejected votes 659. Rejected votes 659. Then total votes cast 62686.
Thank you very much. Any other comment, please? Yes.
I am Omar Wakar by name, AAC agent here in the collection center. Please, Mr. Returning Officer, sir, you made mention of disruption of processes. Please, what is the status of those people that disrupt the processes? Please.
I think it is to everybody's knowledge that when there is rancor, in the polling units. And for the simple fact that in most areas, the electorates cannot be controlled because of the issue of non-availability of security officers very much that can control the crowd when they are unruly. So actually this happened. The electoral personnel cannot be able to tame the electorates. I hope you can see. So as a result of this, they will overpower them. And many things happens that way. So there is no atmosphere whereby election can take place. And even their lives is actually at danger. I hope you can see. So this is, I think I answered your question.
Okay, you asked whether he can explain what happened, right? Did he answer your questions? That's what he said.
Returning officers, thank you for this submission. I really appreciate the way you present the incident in such a way that everyone will understand it clearly. And I believe you are not there when the incidents happen. Yes, and thank you. You said non-availability of security agencies. Is that so? If I get you right.
You say not enough, not enough.
Inadequate. Sorry, inadequate.
Inadequate, yes.
Thank you very much.
Inadequate.
So please, noted, inadequate. Yes. So none should not come here, none please. So inadequate, you have correct yourself. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Any other comment before we move on? All right, thank you. Can you come over to present your result, please? The next is Misau, right? Okay, so please go ahead, do the introduction and present.
Abubakar Abdullahi Ahmed is my name, electoral officer Misau.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Ahmed Said Isa. I am the gubernatorial collation officer for Misau local government, which took place on 18th March 2023. The total number of registered voters in my local government is 130880. 130880. Total number of accredited voters. 48284. 48284. Total valid votes.
You will skip that until the end, so you go to the tally for the various political parties first.
Okay, for political parties.
Yes.
AA, Party AA, 05, 05. AAC, AAC, 09, 09. ADC, ADC, 67, 67. ADP, ADP, 252, 252. APC, APC, 26448, 26448. APM, APM, 48, 48. APP, APP, 04, 04. LP, LP, 42, 42. NNPP, NNPP, 1820, 1820. NRM, NRM, 32, 32. PDP, PDP, 16351, 16351. PRP, PRP, 845, 845. SDP, SDP, 554, 554. ZLP, ZLP, 14, 14. Total valid votes, total valid votes, 4, 6, 4, 9, 1, 4, 6, 4, 9, 1. Rejected votes, total rejected votes, 912, 912. Total votes cast, total votes cast, 4, 7, 4, 0, 3. 4, 7, 4, 0, 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any cancellations, please?
Yes, sir. There are cancellations. 3 words. Cancellation in 3 words. The first word is Zadawa word, with a 1 polling unit. 1 polling unit. And the reason being overvoting. The reason for cancellation is overvoting.
What's the code for that unit, please?
The code. Let me Zadawa. Okay. Zadawa. Okay, the code is 011. 011. The total number of registered voters in that unit is 837. Then the second ward is Hardawa with 1 polling unit. The code for the polling unit is 010, and the number of registered voters there is 639. The third ward is Agilin stroke Gugulin, and there was cancellation in 1 polling unit. Okay, and in that ward, the total number of total registered voters is 880. And the reason for the cancellation, code 05. The reason is disruption of voting process. And it led to the snatching of ballot papers, disruption of ballot box, and the snatching of ballot papers.
Okay, so the first
voting.
The first one was overvoting.
Overvoting.
And the last two is, the last one?
No, the first was overvoting.
Okay.
The second was overvoting.
Okay.
The third was disruption of voting process.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, party agents, any comment, please? Please.
I am Umar Rai Abubakar by name, AAC agent here in the collection center. Mr. Collection Officer, sir, please, what is the status of those places that were being disrupted by the harlots or the tout, please? What is the status of the people?
First, the result there was cancelled. One, then the electorate there, they have voted, so the workers, we are sorting the papers. We are trying to sort the papers when thugs attacked. The thugs attacked them and they broke the ballot boxes and destroyed the ballot papers. And seeing that, as my colleague just said, they have to run for safety.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Maybe you did not get my question very well, please. Let me make myself very clear.
Repeat the question then.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, repeat the question.
What I'm trying to say here is that after the destruction of the process, is there any arrest by the police or the security agencies or any other support group? That is the question I want to hear, please. Thank you.
Please, he is asking whether there is any measure that has been taken by the security agents there in terms of arrests or in terms of subduing those that have done that, if you are aware.
Thank you for your question. When this incident happened, the police came, but the thugs ran away.
Okay.
They were not caught. They ran away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Associate Professor Shehu Galoji, NNPP. Sir, for our guide, I think the best way possible is if we are reporting any incidents, then we should be guided by the report we are coming back with. I think it's the responsibility of INEC to make sure the whole incident that happens has a specific report, because I realize this is the second time my good friend is asking this question. Any arrest? Any arrest? We have been no, yes. He asked twice. He asked Tafa Balewa and he is now asking me so. This is the third time, sorry. So I will be of the opinion that if the reporter, if INEC is reporting, then they should be reporting the right incidents that happens and where the police or the security took over. We will be on the safer side, because I so much believe there are reports that he might not have. So let us not jump the gun. Simple, if the incident happens and by the time police or security arrive, they have taken over. I think we will be on the safer side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comment, please? Okay, that's all. So can you bring forward your results and the reports, please? One just arrived just now, so we are happy we will take them. The next is Katagum. Katagum just arrived. So EO and CO Katagum, if you are here, please. Oh, they're in Secretariat. Okay, so we give them a few minutes to submit the data to Secretariat first.
Select. Well, the resident electoral commissioner, they're reeling out all the results as been delivered at the Collation Center in Bauchi State. And so far, so good. I think about 2 local government areas is what is still left out. So we keep an eye out to see how that collation goes in Bauchi State. We're hoping that maybe tonight, Saleh, that result in Bauchi will be announced.
Well, hopefully the results in Bauchi will be announced, but there's one that a lot of Nigerians are also waiting for, and that's the result of the Adamawa governorship election, which the commissioner has said will resume by 10 p.m. pretty much later. So Nigerians are still waiting. But again, and that is the whole essence of following developments, specifically when it comes to results. You don't have to go ahead and go beyond. What we've seen people on social media saying things that are not. But again, we're saying here, no one has been declared yet, and the resident commissioner and the other staff have said they will reconvene by 10.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, because we're seeing all that is trending on social media. Remember, until INEC declares a result, it is not official.
Absolutely.
Right? And speaking about the North, let's go to Jigawa State, where Umar Namadi is the winner of the election in the state. Namadi of the All Progressives Congress scored 618,449 to defeat his closest rival, that's Mustafa Lamido of the People's Democratic Party, who garnered 368,726.
Let's bring back again Arise Director of News and Politics, Editor Somna Sambo. Somna, you're looking at Jigawa right before us. By the way, let's talk about what you've seen Bauchi, and just when you thought that you're getting close to the end, you're getting to see some kind of drag and extension, just the same way we're getting to hear about Adamawa. Let us in on the one that has been released now, Jigawa State.
From Jigawa.
Yes.
Actually, PDP took some missteps.
Missteps?
Before this election, and it really cost them a lot, lots of internal dynamics of the party, and then of course fears within certain people that Sule Lamido, the former governor and former minister of foreign affairs, was trying to transplant himself through his son as governor. And of course, they had some what looked like a fair shaking here and there during the presidential elections, but with some defections that had happened, there were projections that PDP was going to do well. But it looks like the governor, Abubakar Badaru, had to also retrace his steps and then see how to fix certain places. And of course, you can see the results. I mean, it's wild. I mean, the distance, the margin is just so much that, I mean, I almost got myself confused at some point, having seen the defections that had happened in the state, and then some of the rhetoric, and then of course how Sule Lamido used to put some stunts there, and then things that have been happening, and then of course the accusations against the governor, and how the governor himself has tried to play politics in the APC very well. I had thought that the governor was being distracted a little bit by some of the intrigues that went on during the APC presidential primaries,
which he was
very was very involved in, and then of course during the presidential election. So, but it's good to see that he has been able to deliver a state to APC, and this says a lot about his own capacity too. And of course, some of these outgoing governors are going to use some of these results to negotiate their way into the federal government that will be led by the APC.
Who had actually lost their senatorial seats as well. We have a lot of them who've lost their senatorial seats, which some say that probably they will be able to negotiate if only they deliver their state. And while we're in northern Nigeria, let's talk about Gombe State for a hot second. Incumbent Inuwa Yahaya is actually getting a second term, just slightly over the PDP.
Yes, Barde had tried, and there were cries by the opposition of suppression, and then of thuggery in the run-up to the elections. And then, Danjuma Goje, former governor, was neither here nor there. I mean, you could see what was happening during the presidential elections. He was able to secure himself the seat under APC. But there were talks there that he was supporting Atiku Abubakar. And then, of course, you would see that there were accusations here and there that the governor himself, was using the issues of religion to cause division. Look at the issues of the Maitangale, the traditional ruler of the Tangale people, which, caused a lot of controversy. The governor himself had to apologize in the run-up to the elections. He did a lot of work and a lot of convincing, but I'm telling you that the PDP in this state is going to challenge this result because they had expected that by some of those decisions that the governor had taken, that they were going to oust him out of power. But of course, the power of incumbency is there. Don't forget, in the run-up to the elections, there were allegations that the governor was going to use the army, the police, and there was this audio leak that came out, though the governor kept denying here and there. But the power of incumbency is there. Federal power is there. State power is there. We'll ask the opposition to keep trying, and if they have enough evidence of rigging, as they are claiming, they should go to court.
Internal democracy, as highlighted by you earlier before we went on that, catch-up in Bauchi State, is very key here.
Well, someday you're going to come in, and we'll still talk about internal democracies, but for now, we will cross back to Bauchi State, where the collation of results have now resumed.
66,296. The total scores by each of the parties are as follows. AA has 09. AAC has 13 vote, 13 vote. ADC has 90 vote, 90. ADP has 148 vote, 148. APC has 35,774, 35774. APM has a score of 87, 87. APP has a score of 8, 8. LP has a score of 37, 37. NNPP has a score of 2376, 2376. NRM has a score of 118, 118. PDP has a score of 25,218, 25218. PRP has a score of 514, 514. SDP has a score of 318, 318. And ZLP has a score of 18. Total valid votes stands at 64,728, 64,728. Rejected votes 1,404, 1404. Total votes cast 66,132, 66,132. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Prof, thank you very much. So is there any cancellation or voting not taking place in any polling unit? Any cancellation? Is there any cancellation? Okay. Okay, please give us the details of the polling unit, the number of votes involved, and like you said, the reason is overvoting, right? Okay. $737. And the other one?
The other one is the word is Badere KJ, and the number of votes involved is 447.
447.
So this was reported from the polling unit through the RAs, collection officers.
Both the two are overvoting. Both the two are overvoting.
Both of them are overvoting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And the documents are here.
What about the code? Sorry, the code for the PUs. The code.
Okay, the first one is, the code is 005.
Okay.
005, that is Malangwa Jajaja. The code is 005.
No, sir. The code is 049.
049.
At RA2.
And 3032, the second one. Okay.
RA2.
RA2, oh, okay.
Polling unit 049.
Okay, what of the second one?
The second one is at RA808.
Okay.
RA08 PU 018.
018 PU. Okay, thank you very much. All right, agents, any comment, please? The reasons for this are overvoting. So, any comment, please? No comment? Oh, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Collection Officer. You have done a wonderful job. You present the result amicably, and the result is a little bit okay. Prof, sir, I just want to make my submission because I'm down of fever. So I'll excuse myself for the collection center, but I will make my submission, then I will take my leave for that reason. Please and please, number one is pleading, number two is suggestions, and number three is my stand. In respect to the issue of my pleading, I would like to plead to give directives, or to suggest, especially since this process is being covered by the media, we want video and audio record of this particular process. That is one. Please and please, we are pleading for that. Secondly, in respect to the issue of my suggestion, sir, whatever be the outcome of the election, I pray for the success of whosoever win the election. I pray for that. And please, whosoever come to present the rest of the result, even as I maybe step my leg out of the collection center, I am pleading, he should clearly state his reasons for whatever comes out for cancellation or for overvoting or for destruction of the election processes. I think that will be at a safer side, especially you, that you come from a respected institution. I believe I respect academies because in one way or the other, they are the backbone of societies. Finally, my stand, the stand of African Action Congress, AAC, some part of the result, we are not going to sign on them. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your suggestions, corrections, etc. We wish you all the best, good recovery, and thank you very much. Or any other comment, please? Any other comment? Yes, there is somebody raising his hands over there.
I wanted to know whether there are reports of incidences of vote buying in the process, which maybe has been addressed or not during the course of the election.
Prof, did you hear what he said? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You see, our role is to serve as a collation officer. All those things, if they are to happen, it may happen probably at the polling unit. And we're not supposed to be, our role is to collect the result at that final stage. So whatever happens at the polling unit, they are the ones to report there. to those of us at the top. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no such report of vote buying. To the best of my knowledge, anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. So is that all? We have, this is the last we have, so we are still waiting for 2 local governments, Bauchi and Toro. We are not sure when they will be ready, so we have exhausted those that are here. So in the meantime, we'll spend a few minutes trying to find out which stage they are. Yes, please. Let me finish. We give you the mic. Let me finish. So once we realize or we established the stage at which they are, then we can either adjourn until they brought the results, because we cannot sit here while waiting. Yes, we will. So please, once your comment is made, we will collect the results from the officers.
Well done. Thank you very much, Prof. Once again, Associate Professor Galoji, NNPP. I want to thank this very guy that left in absentia. Believe you me, he taught my institution. Prof is here, so we thank him for what he did, respecting the profession and at the same time the institution. I was under you in Malaysia. I was in UPM, you were in Utara. So thank you. The last comment that was done about vote buying, I don't know whether the person that asked the question will educate us, whether he has knowledge or any information about any party or individual that did vote buying, because we need to be sure. Where incidences as such are being asked, then sometimes you ask questions that you are the one to give the answer. As a class teacher, I might want to, in one way or the other, be guided. Is there any information or any party that did vote buying? Thank you.
Yeah, I am not sure actually who is answering this question. Maybe I will pass it to the law enforcement, because they are charged with checking vote buying. Some of them are here, but you said? Oh, he was asking someone else. Oh, to ask him. Because to be honest, there may be some speculations about vote buying. There may be also, not speculations, maybe true it happened. But the reality is the people that are charged with arresting and prosecuting vote buyers should be the ones that are responsible for such answers. Thank you very much. Without any other submission, I would want to have a few minutes to get in touch with those that are yet to come to find out what time. But in the meantime, we'll get the results from the officer that just presented. Thank you very much.
Well, you're watching a special coverage of Nigeria's state governorship and houses of assembly elections. There's more when we return. Stay with us.
Welcome back to this special coverage coming to you live from Arise News. Of course, we're reading out all the results as they're trickling from across the country. So far, so good. We have seen some results declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. And just a couple of minutes ago in Kwara State, well, the governor, Abdulrazak Abdurrahman, has won a re-election as the governor of the state for a second term. Abdulrazak, who contested on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, polled 273,424 votes to beat his closest rival, Yahaman Abdullahi of the People's Democratic Party, who actually garnered 155,490 votes.
Well, news just coming in. Katsina State APC governorship candidate Diko Rada has won with 859,892 votes. He defeated Garba Yakubu Lado from the PDP, who scored 486,620 votes.
And to the southwestern state of Ogun, where Governor Dapo Abiodun has again been re-elected for a second term in office, while he polled a total of 276,298 votes.
And another incumbent, Governor Sheyi Makinde, has won in Oyo State. Makinde polled 563,617 votes, while his closest rival, Senator Teslim Folarin, scored over 251,000. Adebayo Adelabu of the Accord came a distant third, polling over 38,000.
And May Malabuni is the winner of the election in Yobe State. Buni of the All Progressives Congress scored 317,113 to defeat his closest rival, Sheriff Abdullahi of the People's Democratic Party, who scored 104,259.
Umar Namadi is the winner of the election in Jigawa State. Namadi of the All Progressives Congress scored 618,449 to defeat his closest rival, Mustafa Lamido of the People's Democratic Party, who scored 368,726.
In Gombe State, Governor Inua Yahaya has also retained his seat, defeating his closest rival, Jibril Barde of the People's Democratic Party and the New Nigeria People's Party's Hamisu Melan Taki Yahaya, who scored a total of 342,821 to emerge the winner.
Let's take you to southern Nigeria, specifically in Akwa Ibom State, where the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Umar Eno, has been declared the winner. Eno got 356,348 votes to beat YPP's Senator Bassi Akpan and scored 136,262 votes. APC's Akanimo Dofia also came third in that election with 129,602.
And for more updates, let's now cross live to Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where collation of result has now ended for the day. And we hear that has now been postponed to 10 a.m. tomorrow. Well, for an update, here's Oviateme George. Oviateme, good to have you on the program tonight. Well, bring us up to speed with what we know so far with regards to the reason why the collation is being postponed until tomorrow.
Good evening, Amaka. Good evening, Sulaiman, our lady. Well, few hours ago, collation ended for the day to resume at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Well, the reasons are not far-fetched. The few I think I have on the palms of my hands. Like Degema local government area, voting could not be concluded yesterday, Saturday. It was concluded today. Let's say Ward 14, Unit 12, Obuama. In Degema local government area, voting was concluded there, where the likes of Mujahid Dokubo Asari and others were able to cast their ballots, so to speak, perform their civic duties. And so the results for Degema must be collated first before taken to the collation center. Yeah, definitely going through the normal processes, wards, local government level, then taken to the state for eventual collation and the result to be announced. Also being awaited is Asari local government area and 4 other local government areas. Total 6, but 17 have been announced. And of course the result, which we already know, 17 announced with a wide margin going to the People's Democratic Party. But we will wait. It is still early in the day as we await the results from 6 local government areas to make it 23. In other words, 23 local government areas in Rivers State and 32 constituencies for the State House of Assembly. That's what we are waiting for.
Thanks. On the election day, you had reported some skirmishes resulting to the death of some few persons in the state. Has the police command spoken on these?
Information has been coming few and far between, if perhaps one can say nothing. But we got late information yesterday about the postponement of elections to this morning. But for the police, not much has been heard, I say. Not much has been heard about the skirmishes, losses of lives in Elibrada, Emohua, and then in the Ogoni axis, where there was sporadic gunfire for over an hour. We haven't really gotten details from the police about those disturbing reports, skirmishes if you like. Not much have been coming from the police so far. Alede.
And Oviateme, well, you've just talked about violence, but have we gotten any confirmation with regards to the number of casualties? Because yesterday there were varying reports with regards to, what had really happened, especially in Asari Toru.
The number of deaths have not been confirmed. Of course, it is the INEC working in collaboration with the police, and perhaps police taking the lead as a lead security agency that should come up with figures. We didn't want to venture into the area of surmises and guesses that may not be accurate in the end. It's whatever they tell us that we will actually push forward to the world, that this is the number of casualties so far. But that's just the situation. It is confirmed that some persons died. I have the number, but I can't really go to press because it is the police, the lead security agency, that should push forward figures of casualties in Elibrada and Emohua, both Elibrada, Obakri in Emohua local government area, and of course the Ogoni axis. But I got an information early this morning about a director general of an APC, the APC governorship candidate in a particular local government area was shot dead. That is another added to the growing uncomfortable statistics of those who lost their lives during the election in Rivers State.
I'd like to thank you for your time, Oviateme George. You stay safe. Horizon News correspondent in Rivers State, Oviateme George, giving us an update on developments in Rivers State. Arise Director of News and Politics Editor Samna Sam is still with us here at our Overflow studio is political analyst Dr. Law Mefo. Starting with the latest result from Katsina, where APC candidate Diko Rada has won. Let's start with you quickly. That's the figure on your screen, 859,892 by the APC, Diko Rada, and Garba Yakubu coming second with 486,620. Let's start with you, Samna. This is a figure many were waiting to see. That's the home state of the outgoing president, Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes, I mean, it's a big win, and this is, among all the results that have been declared, this is the largest figure that we have as a win, and then the largest margin that anyone is defeating the second person with. And you can see that the gap between the winner and the runner-up is just almost like, half of the votes there. It's a very big win for a state that, was lost to the PDP during the presidential election. We're seeing the APC bouncing back. Senator Lado of the PDP, had gained some sort of popularity during the run up to the governorship elections. Even before the governorship elections, some defections had happened. And with the presidential election result, it had gingered a lot of people to go into support him. But the NMPP candidate in the state injured some of the votes that would have gone there. And of course, the incumbent governor, Aminu Masari, who was former Speaker of the House of Reps, wasn't happy with the outcome of the election result during the presidential election. He felt it was a slight on his legacy. And then, of course, President Muhammadu Buhari's legacy. In fact, he went ahead to even remove some people from government.
Some commissioners
some of them were being told to just step aside for some bureaucratic purposes. But we all know that it's because they failed to deliver their local government. So they felt it was an embarrassment. So, I mean, the charge would have been out for everybody to make sure that they deliver Rada, who is coincidentally the outgoing DG of Smidan, the former DG of Smidan, who has stepped down from that development agency. I mean, it brings to the fore the popularity of the president himself, President Muhammadu Buhari, who had to still go back to, Katsina, make sure that he stayed there to vote, and then, of course, do the networking to see how they can actually bring down the figures of the PDP. Now, what were some of the sentiments that supported the PDP winning the state? Some of the sentiments that supported the PDP winning the state during the presidential election were that Atiku Abubakar has always been the protege of the late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, former Chief of General Staff to Olusegun Obasanjo, General Olusegun Obasanjo, then as military head of state. And he actually, the late Shehu Yar'Adua actually brought Atiku up politically, and he was very close to Atiku. They brought together this group which was called the People's Front, PF, which was very instrumental, to the politics that was played in the aborted Third Republic, where we could see their influence, including Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the president-elect. He used to be part of that, group. He's part of those that the late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua brought up. I mean, Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself. So Atiku benefited from that. And, when there was this call for new breed politicians to be brought in after, then Ibrahim Babangida, the military head of state, then had cancelled the elections, the party primaries that brought in place people like Adamu Chiroma, and then, of course, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua himself. You could see that Atiku Abubakar was the new kid on the block that was brought in by Yar'Adua to represent him politically. And as a result of that, Atiku Abubakar even went into the 1992 presidential contest and had to step down for Abiola because of the intervention of this same Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. So a lot of people in Katsina saw Atiku from a different perspective. They felt that they owed Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, who was the late Tafid and Katsina, the glory to be able to give something to Atiku Abubakar, so that if he eventually becomes the president-elect, he would also know them for having fulfilled their promises based on that of their principles. So these are some of the internal politics. But when it comes to governorship election, it's a different ballgame. And of course, this time around, the payback was to actually see how they can support President Muhammadu Buhari and not want to disappoint him politically in the historical books of Nigerian politics as he tries to exit and then try to maintain a certain form of legacy so that he's not booted out of politics of the APC. Absolutely. So these are the internal dynamics. And then, of course, the win is a very huge margin. The PDP will have to learn from this. And the APC, I'm very sure the president will be smiling in his parlor if he's watching now and saying that, well, whatever happens, Katsina people, I just have to thank you for helping me not to go with my head bowed down.
Well, we've seen that thanks coming from the outgoing governor, Bello Masari. Of course, he's actually thanking the people for really coming out en masse to ensure a victory for the All Progressives Congress and its candidate, Diko Umar Rada, which, of course, we've just given you that breaking news that he has been declared the winner in Katsina State. Of course, winning with a huge margin from what we can see, almost half compared to the runner-up, speaking about Garba Yakubu of the People's Democratic Party. Well, let's bring in Dr. Lome for right now to really take a look at these results that we have seen so far. He is in our Overflow studio as well. Dr. Lome, you have been following the results as declared by INEC. Which of these results would you say surprised you the most, if any? Your general reactions about what we've seen so far?
I wouldn't say I so many surprises, if any. The tendency is for the political parties to retain their states. And that tendency is expressed almost across board. And I would also say that there are very few upsets, again, if any. Maybe because we haven't seen the whole of the results, but the tendency is that there may not be more than one or two surprises across board. And I think it is like that because the presidential election is essentially different from this governorship election because of the personalities involved. The key presidential candidates, they threw their weight, pulled their weight, and they were able to deliver in their fortes. But now the governorship candidates are really not benefiting much from those major presidential candidates, as far as I am concerned, because what I see is a kind of preponderance of the political parties really retaining their fortes. PDP is firm on their states, APC the same. And we are yet to see any major shift, something that will really show that indeed this traditional home basis of the political parties have been shifted by some paradigms that some people would say is something that is coming to play at the moment. That said, I also think that the governors.
Well, apologies for that glitch. We'll have to see to the audio collection long before then. Back to news director. Now let's talk about what's happening now, Sumner. And the most interesting thing when you painted a picture of what has just happened in Katsina State goes back to grassroots politics. Let us in on how this is being played, because it seemed to me, looking at your analysis, that the grassroots politicians are making some kind of audacious incursion or somehow know-how of grassroots politics in northern Nigeria than what we have seen in some other parts of Nigeria, specifically in south. They've been able to bridge the gap, know when there's trouble, and know when to actually move in and make some kind of amends.
Yes, grassroots politics is one that you can't take away from an election like this, unlike the presidential or the National Assembly elections. These are elections that are very dear to people. You know, when people win the presidential elections or the National Assembly elections, they come down to Abuja and people hardly see them. And most times when you're seeing them, they are with sirens every now and then. It's difficult for you to come much more closer to them. But when it comes to state elections, even as a state governor, you have to be much more closer to your people. And then, of course, the state houses of assembly elections that we have seen, because we mustn't forget that too. I mean, the figures are beginning to come out, and then we are beginning to see people who are very close to the grassroots actually, making impact. I mean, the closer you are to the grassroots, the better you're able to play lots of politics. Just look at what's going on gradually. You see that those who have won with huge margins, like Katsina, you go to Oyo, and then, of course, you see what's going on in Yobe. These are people who have pushed down to the grassroots to actually maintain their strongholds. You have to go out there to show the people that, look, you mean business. And some of the returning governors that we have seen, I mean, the thing is that there's been no major upset for any incumbent governor to be removed. We are still hoping to see if any of that will happen. Some of them have done last-minute alliances. I've seen a lot of, the fringe political parties who used to be taken for granted by some of the incumbent governors and other big politicians. You would have noticed that since Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there were these last-minute alliances where even political parties that you normally push aside that are not so well-known, you see that some of these governors are going to forge alliances with them, because getting at 50 votes from a smaller political parties can actually make the difference in all of this. So going to the grassroots to mop up all votes wherever they can get was the tactics, and it's been working for so many of them. And what's left now is for us to see how some of these states that are left can still have an impact or not. But I can tell you that this tells us that as we're going into the 10th National Assembly, and of course we're entering into the next phase of our democracy, you will see that it's very important for people who are elected to know that they have to maintain that link with the grassroots, with the people at various states and localities. The problem we have is that emphasis is being placed on the federal government more than some of the state governments. A lot of Nigerians are beginning to tell our elected personalities, politicians here and there, that look, the local elections matter. If you don't come close to the people, a lot will happen to you. So as we go into, the future from this set of governors and state houses of assembly members, national assembly members, and president-elect, what would want them to know is that, look, technology has helped to create a leverage. In fact, technology is a leveler for where the beavers has worked, for where it hasn't been circumvented with some of the problems. So as we're going into it now, we should understand that these elections will definitely be a leveler if we actually put in place the right thing, so that whoever you are, you can be defeated at any time.
Right, and of course, some news just coming in. Of course, Adamawa State, they're getting ready for collation to resume. It's supposed to resume again in another 25 minutes for us to get that result in. And River State, we have been told that that has been postponed. Same with Lagos State. I want to touch base with River State, especially looking at what Obioteme had told us earlier with regards to the violence we saw yesterday. River State is one state that has this history of inconclusive result in the first ballot. With what we've seen so far, do you see that playing out again?
Well, the PDP seems to be coasting home with, I think, about 17 local governments that have been declared right now and all of that. But I can tell you that River State is one of the states that we've always had problems with when it comes to our elections. Right from 1999, in fact, it got to a point whereby elections were almost being totally discredited in that part. Because once election results come out of River State, there's always a tendency for violence to, overshadow it. And then, of course, look, there's no governor that we've seen being elected in River State since 1999 that has not faced accusations of, allegedly misusing, whether federal or state forces to actually come to power. So what we are seeing is not far from what we've always seen. It's unfortunate that technology is supposed to have, done a lot, but from what the opposition is saying in River State, they are saying that, look, it looks like this beavers machine was not allowed to work very well. But of course, the governing party is also saying that, look, some of you are sore losers. The PDP has always won River State, and there's no how any party can win.
But we're seeing PDP states flip this time around, especially in regions where they've actually been really strong.
Yes, but for River State, Rivers has always been a PDP stronghold. It remains one of those forties where it's been pretty difficult to actually push the PDP away. You will see that in all, there was a sort of a game that was played during the presidential elections where the incumbent had to sort of enter some sort of deal with the APC, and of course they were able to, give votes for them. But that was at the federal election. But this time around, his own preferred candidate is there. But I can tell you that we need to put more eyes in Rivers State. Now, the reason why it's been pretty difficult to police Rivers elections in the past is because of the terrain. Look at the areas sometimes we've had in the past. Around 2007, I remember some INEC officials were taken into the middle of the river and they were being told that, look, you declare certain results or else you kiss yourself goodbye. And all those kind of stories here and there.
Speaking of terrain,
and where will you see lots of people to save you there?
Yes, sorry to cut you. Speaking of terrain, is it the same with Delta State when we talk about elections in Delta State?
Yes, it's always been like that. It's especially those riverine states. It's pretty difficult for you to go into the riverine communities and conduct elections peacefully. Sometimes INEC officials are jacked. Sometimes so many things happening there. There are no networks there. The presence of police and the Navy, very few. Even the logistics, for INEC to even take the logistics down there. Look, a lot of things actually happen. It's just like the desert areas of the north too. You go to certain areas, I can tell you that there's no how INEC would have fully conducted elections in other parts of the north, where deserted areas are there, where you have issues of insurgency, you still have some, bandits or terrorists, moving around. I mean, people who conduct elections are humans like you and I. They don't have any special robotics or stuff. So those are results from those areas will always be subject to several interrogations.
I know some will be surprised you talking about desert area. Speaking of Nigeria, paint for us a picture, especially in northern Nigeria, how far and wide apart some of these local governments are, if you can paint it in terms of driving per hours.
Yeah, I mean, there are some local government areas you go to, like for example in Yobe State, for 3 to 4 hours you're still within one local government area, and you almost think that you're in a state, and then you go around, sometimes there's no presence of police, I mean nothing. You're just moving. I mean, you go to some desert areas, you would even ask yourself if you're not in Dubai. Because when you start saying, there's a place called the Yusufari Desert. I mean, when you go to that place, you may almost think that you're in Qatar or you are in Bahrain or, all those areas and all of that. And then you go to some areas in Borno. I mean, with the way
people live in those areas,
yes,
and they will vote.
People live in those areas. Look, some of those people don't even have electoral materials being brought to them. Some people don't even partake in elections. Census and all of that. Look, we have not been able as a country to be able to capture a lot of those people. Even as the next census is going to be coming, a lot of people, they are distant. I mean, it's in this part of this country where we saw somewhere in Adamawa too. A lot of people, I remember a friend who went to conduct presidential elections sometime around 2003 to cover elections there. And they were still asking if Shehu Shagari is still the president of Nigeria.
Wow. It just tells you about the terrain.
Yes,
Niger State, the landmass in Niger State.
About 73 to 76,000 square kilometers. 2 or 3 countries to some instances.
For more results to trickle in, we still have to touch base with what we saw in regards to yesterday that led to even the postponement of some elections into today. Case in point, Rivers State and even in Lagos State. Voter suppression. Some would say led to really low voter turnout. But some would also argue and say this particular election was supposed to see more people, knowing that the governorship as well as the State Houses of Assembly is more closer to the people. Would you agree with those who believe that, the suppression led to less people coming out, or just people just don't care because it's not the presidential?
Thank you, Amaka, for this question. We have to start by interrogating all the figures we have been bringing out. As a country, it looks like an absurdity for us to have 87 million registered voters, and even at the presidential election, we're talking about 25 million. So, as we're going into these elections, which is the second batch of elections now, we've seen that even by the time you add the total votes that will be coming, it looks like from all the states, we may just be having like about 17 million or 18 million. That tells us a lot.
Which is worse than...
Yes, which is worse than, just worse than the last election that we had of February 25. And then compared to the state, yes. So a lot, we need to reopen a conversation about our nationhood, about population and all of that. Thank God the census is supposed to hold sometime in May and all of that. Because some of these figures that we keep pushing out, they don't correspond with what we see. Now, people are saying that there's been voter apathy, but even if there was serious voter apathy with the interest that a lot of people have showed towards this election, and then with about 28 states, 28 out of 36, or if you add the 37 states, since we have heard that FCT is the state now, when you add all of this now, and you see the interest, we are supposed to say that this is a general election that will see a lot of turnout, but we've seen low turnout in some areas. So a lot of Nigerians need to understand what our armed forces are doing to keep us, safe. A lot of Nigerians need to understand what INEC is doing to ensure that people do not lose trust in the electoral system. And then the major problem we are going to have out of this election is going to be the issue of legitimacy. Even though the Constitution and then, of course, the electoral law allows somebody to emerge winner, even with 5% votes. But nonetheless, when you have about 95% of the population, for example, in a particular constituency or state governorship election, not voting for you, when you walk on the street as a winner of the election, how would you be able to raise your shoulders high? A lot of people will be questioning you, and then they'll be saying you have a stolen mandate, or a lot of people didn't vote you. You have a huge crisis at hand by the time you're nominating people. I mean, if it were in other countries, so even when you nominate people into your cabinet, people will tell you that I'm not going to serve in your cabinet because I don't believe in your government, because a lot of people didn't vote for you. Majority of the people in this state or this constituency didn't come out to vote for you. And then it will cast aspersion on the sort of democracy that we are practicing, because if majority of the people are unable to come out to elect their elected representatives, then it's actually a vote of no confidence on democracy itself. And so we have to reassess the sort of democracy that we practice. We have to reassess ourselves as citizens. Why are people not being patriotic enough to come out? Is it because we are unable to guarantee their safety? Should we even reconsider the issues of holding elections on Saturdays? Why don't we hold elections on days that are weekdays, so that a lot of people may not have opportunity to be able to gang up and plan violence very well? If you cast your vote, you go back to your business and all of that. So a lot of configurations need to be put in place, but I can tell you that we are walking backwards from the democratic journey that we began. And we just hope that this does not destabilize our democracy, because the issues of legitimacy in any democracy are very, very important.
Well, I think you just painted a very, very grim picture of voter suppression. Let's quickly go to Lome for Law. Good to see you back, and thanks for your patience. Listening to Somna, and the question of voter suppression is very, very worrisome. We've seen that in Lagos, such allegations in Lagos and some other places like Rivers State. Let us in on what you think we're not doing right as a people, that because it looks very much like the Second Republic still.
You say they are allegations. I don't think they are allegations. We saw videos of voter suppression, violence, intimidation. People are told not to come out if they are not going to vote for a particular political party. And those who tried to brave it were beaten up, some were shot at, So it's not allegations. We saw these things real time. The videos are everywhere. And I am particularly worried because of the ethnic profiling. My own ethnic group, particularly Igbos, are profiled in Lagos, and they're told not to come out to vote, that if they must vote, they should go back to the southeast to exercise their civic responsibility and franchise. I think that something is terribly wrong here. We can't afford to progress along this path. The trajectory is not looking good at all. You see, you can't tell non-indigenous in any state not to vote, not just Igbos. Non-indigenous anywhere in Nigeria, any state in Nigeria, are Nigerians, and they have every right to vote where they pay their tax, where they reside, where they register as voters. This is fundamental, it's constitutional. So even the umpire, if the law enforcement agencies that should ensure election security look the other way, and the non-indigenous in states like Lagos, like Rivers, are intimidated, bullied, beaten up openly, then something is fundamentally wrong. And this is, like I said, not an allegation. And as far as I am concerned, election security, the way I understand it, is manned essentially by the Nigeria police. Any other security agency that comes in is coming in essentially to support the police, including the military. It means the police will have to take the lead and call in for support where necessary. They weren't overwhelmed. In the instances where these open threats of violence occurred, the police was not overwhelmed. The police simply didn't do the work. Let's face the reality, and that is very important. If you say non-indigenous cannot vote in Lagos, and this May we are going to hold census, what do you think will happen to a place like Lagos if the millions of non-indigenous in Lagos decide to go back to their states to be counted? Is it not a legitimate response to what has happened to them in this election? If that happens, what happens to the so-called humongous population of Lagos? because it is the basis for their revenue allocation, and where it comes to being taken care of by the state, by the security agencies, they are left on their own, thrown under the bus, practically. This is not right. I have been waiting to see the religious organizations, socio-cultural organizations, Igbo Apex Socio-Cultural Organization, Ohaneze to be precise. They have to come out strong and really condemn what is going on and push for serious conference. You see, we need to be careful here. The Yorubas and Igbos, they have come a long way together, even before colonial times. And they have cohabited, they have coexisted, progressed together. In Lagos particularly, there is no basis for what is going on there. That they decided to vote for somebody else, which of course is yet to even be seen, maybe because of what happened in the presidential election, and it is feared that the trajectory may be maintained in the gubernatorial election and the APC may lose. If they lose, and so what? If the wish of the people is that they choose another party and another gubernatorial candidate, so be it. That is the beauty of democracy. Why I say this is because of the population of the Igbos and the Yorubas. Each of them is not less than 30 million. If you hedge them against each other and the major conflict breaks out between them, I'm not sure Nigeria will be able to contain it. That is one. We also need to understand one thing. You see, because the narration we hear is that the Igbos should go and vote in the southeast, but like I said, they are counted as Lagosians in population census. And let me also say, apart from the warning...
Sincere apologies, I have to butt in here because, yes, it's quite sad what we saw, especially play out in Lagos, where we're seeing ethnicity, being turned into something else. You know what? The violence in the elections were not just synonymous to southern Nigeria, because even in Kano State, the police command earlier on today actually arrested a politician, speaking about Ishaku Ali Danji, for actually perpetrating some sort of violence, and they're saying that he'll be charged to court. But somehow, let me bring you now into this conversation, and since we've actually touched base with Kano right now, Kano and Sokoto, two northwestern states that a lot of Nigerians are quite curious to see what comes out of that place. For Sokoto State, even the National Assembly elections are still pending. Well, the gubernatorial was still awaiting those results, and even the state houses of assembly. Talk to us about your expectations out of Sokoto, and marry that with Kano, where we saw, you want to call it the fourth force, really pull its weight there. And do we expect to see that same kind of clout with the governorship? Sumner?
All right, let me start with Sokoto State. It's a fight between two political gladiators, a godfather and a godson. The godfather is Aliumaga Takarda Wamako, who is the former governor of Sokoto State, and then, of course, his protege, Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, who is the incumbent governor. So while Tambuwal is in the PDP now, and then the incumbent governor, Aliu Wamako, is in the APC. Now, Wamako actually brought Tambuwal in to defeat the PDP in 2015. I covered the election in that state in 2015. So they joined hands together with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the president-elect now, to oust the then government. But somehow, they fell out with each other, and when they fell out with each other in 2019, you could see that Tambuwal rushed back to the PDP, and then, of course, Senator Aliu Wamako was unhappy about that development, and he said he was going to teach his protege Tambuwal a lesson. And you would have seen that the results in 2019 was very close. The difference between the governor who was re-elected, Tambuwal then, and then the winner was, I think, about 300 votes and so on. So that fight has continued.
We'll talk about that fight. It's an interesting one, quite an interesting perspective. But again, just hold your thoughts on that. Let's quickly go to Nigeria's southeast region, specifically the state of Enugu, where the results have now been compiled.
Sure. Of this process. So there were accusations and upon accusations, or observations upon observations on Kano West, I think Kano West, Kano East. Okay, Kano East, yes. And then there were also similar accusations against Nsukka. Later on, Enugu East came in, and we have not received any report on these accusations upon accusations. So my sincere question to those concerned is this: can we have your written submissions against what happened in these areas during the elections this night? We would like to have your submissions if you want us to still contest what we are hearing as observations. I recall that for Enugu East, somebody even came out to say, these things people are saying never happened. I live and belong to that place. So could the people contesting what happened in those three areas, if you wouldn't mind, I would say we can drop off Enugu East, because there were also witnesses that nothing actually that happened there was out of, the ordinary, or never happened. So for Nkano East and Nsukka, can we have report now? This is the time for us to look at it, because laws and laws have been quoted, and we need to listen to those agitations through the right channel, and the channel is that you submit your written expression on this very matter. If there is, please submit to us, and then we can proceed from that place. I hope I'm understood. Yes. You're welcome.
I raised the issues about Nkano East, and as I speak to you, my former petition is ready. They're just photocopying it so that everybody will have a copy each. In the next 15 minutes, it should be available to all.
That's good. Yes, the people that raise issue against Nsukka, can we have your written petition or written expression against that? I'm seeing him, I'm not blind. I'm seeing the hand. I'll recognize it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Once more, let me appreciate your very democratic approach to this whole process. But at the same time, that does not mean that we're going to take things beyond the limit of democratization. I find that absurd for a party agent to suggest, by whatever means, that this process will have to be halted to wait for his written submission. They are not mutually exclusive. The process should go on while he submits whatever protest he has. That is where it is done. We don't have to wait for him for 15 minutes. He can submit this night, he can submit tomorrow. The commission has 7 days to review his submission. And if he's not satisfied with the commission's review, there's also the election petition tribunal, where he can further ventilate his grievances. And that's the position of the law, sir. Sir, please, it is important that we just flow with all the standard rules of this process. Thank you.
All right. I know that you are versed in the law. You will have been a speaker to be answering right honorable. Yes, you will have been a speaker. Okay. So, will you reflect what the act is all about that your brother lawyer was quoting to us on 64, which is the basis of what we just want to do now? Will you reflect on what the act or the law?
Well, those are live feeds coming from Enugu State in Nigeria, Southeast region, where the results are being collated. And at about this time, we would like to go to Sumner for his closing remarks before we leave the studios. Sumner.
Yeah, well, my closing remarks would be that for Lagos, I'm happy that whatever happened in Lagos did not degenerate, because I was already been afraid that it would happen like the Operation Wetier that happened in the First Republic, actually, and then it spilled over in the Second Republic too, where there was this clash. Because my thinking was that Bode George was trying to push Revival, while Bola Ahmed Tinubu was trying to push Sanwo-Olu, and at the end of the day, it could have engulfed the state. But it's good to know that leaders in the states were able to manage the situation, and we appeal to them to talk to their supporters and some top leaders, including some spokesmen of the president-elect and others. Please, it's time for us to cut back on some of the rhetoric, because if care is not taken, it may go beyond what it is, and we don't want the 60s happening to us any longer. We don't want to lose this democracy to things that happen like this.
Absolutely. And of course, the Labour Party candidate earlier on had granted a press conference where he said, you know what, he's not going to congratulate the winner. And according to him, he is going to be contesting that result. But that's the opposite in Oyo State, where the candidate of the Accord Party, Adebayo Adelabo, has now congratulated, of course, Governor Seyi Makinde, who has just been re-elected. But at this point, this is where we have to say thank you so much for staying with us here on this special coverage of Nigeria State Governorship and House of Assembly elections. I am Amaka Ude-Walker.
And I also like to say thank you to Law of Mefor. Thank you for your time. I'm Sulaiman. Let us stay with us.
Issues were canvassed this way, and the national chairman of INEC summarily dealt with it. Your complaints are heard. Your petitions will be welcome. But we are proceeding with our collation and declaration. You ventilate your grievances through the courts. That's the position of the law, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. But please, I'm not allowing you, sir.
Just to clarify.
I'm not allowing you. Just wait. Allow me.
Thank you, sir.
The issue, sir, is that a complaint was made here on this floor against Nsukka, and we would like to have it in writing. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like this man's complaint, this man's complaint was made against Nkano East on this floor, and we are demanded for it to be submitted to us in writing. That's all we're asking for. That's all we're asking for. So can we have that complaint against Nsukka in writing this night? This night. Good, this night. All right. Now, the next thing we are going to do yeah?
Thank you so much, sir. I stand on the already existing protocol. My name is Barita Kenike, Allied People's Movement. So I want to thank you for the mature way you have been approaching our attitude in this process. But I also want to say that asking the party agents who have raised complaints to file the reports immediately now may not be practicable. I have said my own complaint.
I'll overrule you, sir. They have agreed.
But I have my own complaint.
Did you complain against which? Which one did you complain against?
Nkanu East.
So give us your complaint in writing.
Now.
This night. Not now. This night. I don't say now. I say this night.
If I go home and come back, who will I meet here?
No, you can meet anybody. There are people here 24 hours. There are people here 24 hours.
Please, I would advise that you give a time margin.
No. We have said this night. And the two people said they are ready. You can be ready in the next 2 or 3 hours. We are waiting for you. No problem.
It's okay.
You bring it, we have it. Because the essence is to allow us be heard. And we are being heard. We are Democrats. We are not autocrats. So now that we are getting to that point, we keep moving. We don't want to be stagnated in this process. We keep moving as we take these reports. Because we cannot be, handling report based on somebody standing and saying this happened, this happened. We want to, when we get that report, we read it. And then that will also be part of the package of review anytime, anywhere, if there has to be something like that. But I believe that here this night, we can agree among ourselves to say, let us finish this game. And it is finished. We can do that. We can agree on that. Are you getting it? So, and that is what I have been praying. Look, I spent time praying for this election in Enugu State. Because as I told you, I have interest. My children are married to this place. I grew up in this place. I schooled in this place. And everything. So I have interest. And I told you, you wouldn't be surprised to have me retiring into this very place. So please, let us calm down. People like us lost elections a number of times. I lost election as a vice chancellor 2 times. It was at the 3rd time I got it. I didn't anybody because of that. In fact, one person that made me to lose had his father been buried the next week. I went to his condolence. And he was surprised to see me coming to bury his father with him. So nothing is permanent in this world. Nothing at all is permanent. We shouldn't escalate this thing to the point that becomes an issue. They say politics is a game, it's a game, but some of us have been brought in here as referees. We continue to blow the referee and continue to massage and appeal to everybody until get the game over. Let us try to get this game over so that we don't injure ourselves the more. I want to thank all of you. The people that are giving us a report or whatever, we will expect them so we can now get further to enter the remaining, collect the remaining results, the 3, as we take those reports. By the time we finish collecting, we will now tell you where else we are going, because collation is not announcing. Yes.
I really appreciate the difficult position you are in and the difficult job you have to do this night, trying to dispense justice to all parties. But the difficulty I have is that if we are proceeding to the next stage of collation without addressing these fundamental issues of whether these results should even be collated, then that's a fundamental challenge. For my mind, I might be wrong, but I think that the best step to go is to determine whether these results should even be collated in the first place. Because you see, the issue here goes to the root of the electoral process. It goes to the very root of the electoral process. And that electoral process is that they say it's automatic. That once there are allegations that votes cast in a polling station are more than the number of accredited voters, it's automatically cancelled without much ado. And so going to collation when we have not addressed that fundamental issue that goes to the root, to the sanctity of this process we're doing is inimical to the whole process. And I think that is not justice, if I may say, put it that way, sir. So we need to address, I thought when you said submit your petition, maybe we will take the hint from what is happening in the neighboring state, Abia, where we have similar challenges. And your brother, the returning officer, in consultation with the electoral officials there, say, oh, look, let's sleep over this and reconvene tomorrow. That gives you time to look at the petitions we're talking about. But you have not said anything different from what I've said. We're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. We can delete results at any point. We can cancel the result at any point. But let's have the petition first. That is the point I'm saying. Yes. The fundamental thing is for you to submit that petition. Yes. Then we know what a petition against. That is correct. Not just by orally speaking about it. Okay. So do it. Well, you don't know where we're ending this night. You don't know. Yes, I've not told you where we're ending this night. Yeah, but we have virtually collated all the local government areas.
Please, the returning officer have been doing this job diligently and patiently. Please, the most important are the complaints. Submit your complaints. When you submit the complaints, what are you looking into? The result you've collected is on the dashboard, is not with him. So he needs to collect that result. Also, collect your petition and then take the decision on what to do. He doesn't have the result. The result is only on this system. So he wants the official way of properly let him have the result, and then your petition, new decision will be taken. I think that's the best thing we do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we are giving the 3 people that would like to submit petition this night to do so. And on that note, we are reconvening by 8 a.m. On that note, we are reconvening by 8 a.m. And we will look at what the petitions are. If there are things that we can deal with here, we deal with them. If there are things that we need to escalate, we escalate them. And then get the process to where it should be. So I want to thank all of you for your patience. And I pray that we wake up sound and beautiful in the morning